You'll be pleased to know I've got akimbo dual wielding kiss glasses.
Well, now that's got to be the beginning of the episode.
Hell yeah.
We're already started, so we might as well just jump right into it. You know what I mean?
One for how. Go ahead and do the alcohol one.
Okay.
Every once in a while, we like to get a little wasted. We like to take a taste of alcohol.
Yeah. This is the quickest we've ever, because like some of you probably don't. Well, you might. It doesn't matter. Who cares? That we have a little bit of a conversation before we decide. Oh, we're jumping into the episode. But I can't pass up the two Kiss glasses. I don't have any Kiss drinkware, but I do have my Metallica mug today with my coffee in it. But and I was even tempted to just pull out, because I have, aside from one album, I have every Kiss album. And I was like, well, I'm going to bring out, and I just went, oh no, that's a lot of work for, especially the people on the podcast side are like, well, we can't see that shit anyway. Who the fuck cares? So I just got the first one behind me.
Nice. That's a good way to set the tone.
Which is a 1974 pressing of that
You
album.
cheeky bastard.
I have all originals up until Revenge.
Damn.
And that's just because I don't know. That's just how I am. I most of the time it's getting better, but for a long time I've always let down by reissues of stuff. And so if I can afford it, if I can hold out and figure out a way to afford it, then I'll do that. But I don't know. It's sometimes there's nothing you can do about it, and you get a repressing, and sometimes they're great and other times they're shit, but you never know. Mm-hmm. Anyway, hi everybody. Welcome to Cranked and Ranked. This is a special Cranked and Ranked and a first. The first time we've ever done one of these. I don't think we'll do a lot of these, but we have two in particular that we will be doing, and this is the first of those. And it is Cranked and Revisited, right? Cranked and Revisited.
Yes.
And so we've been doing this show for 5 years.
Yeah, we're coming up on season 6.
Okay. So it's been almost 6 years that we've been doing this show. And so of course we've ranked a lot of bands. And some of those bands were 5 years ago or a few years ago. And the way that, for people like Eddie and I, our musical journey hasn't stopped. It's an ongoing thing. And so I'm not, you're younger, so you it's yet to be seen, but I think you'll be like me. I'm in my, I'm almost 47, and I have never reached that point where I'm not interested in discovering new bands or finding my way into old bands that maybe I didn't get into, when I was younger or whatever. Now, mind you, there is a lot less newer stuff that excites me. So I am, that's where the old head name came from, is the fact that I find myself most of the time being like, oh, I like the old shit better. So I am one of those fucks. So that's where the name came from, if anybody was curious. But while I'm always looking for new music to excite me, I'm always like, especially bands that are, I know are very important, have some stuff that I really like, and have some just massive fans out there. It always makes me go, because I always want to be a part of the party, but I'm not a poser, so I'm not just going to pretend to be into something. So I always want to find my way into something. How is that going to work? And for me, the big one, which we'll do later, is Judas Priest. That's the one where I really was pretty lukewarm on a lot of their stuff, and now I've become a pretty big fan. I mean, there's way bigger fans than me, but and on the same token, this is what's kind of happened to Eddie Sparxx. Although you were already a Kiss fan, but now you've kind of rolled into being a much bigger one.
I've gone from liking Kiss to them being a top 10 band
Yeah,
for me.
cool. That's great. That's great.
Since we did our episode on them at the time,
3 episodes.
yeah, we did a
Three-parter.
three-parter. Yeah, we did a 3-parter, and at the time I was thoroughly impressed by all of it. But there was so much it took a while for it all to sink in, and this is one of very few bands where I am consistently interested throughout their discography.
Yeah.
There are bands from that started in the 80s, and my love for them kind of stays there.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Because to where it's like, you know, grunge came along, derailed that whole thing. And then ever since then, it's just been a case of, you know, they're all kind of doing the same vein of hard rock to some better than others. You know, I'm not degrading an entire genre of music that I absolutely love, but not since maybe like a long time ago. I have not had such a deep fondness for everything a band has to offer across their career. Probably since Toto. This is the biggest band deep dive I've probably done since Toto.
Yeah. Nice.
Yeah.
And so originally, I don't remember how long ago the episodes were, but I think they were 4 years ago or something like that. I think they were in 2021, maybe
early. I think it was like the first few episodes of 2021. I think we decided to kick things off with Kiss.
And we did 3 episodes because we went through the whole, discography, 24 albums or whatever it is. And each episode, if you go back and listen to them, I went and listened to them just to know what my ranking was. Yeah. And I was like, these are pretty fun episodes. And they were all 3 of them are 2 hours long at least.
There's a solid at least 6 hours of us talking about Kiss.
Yeah.
Aside from this, so if anybody wants to do like a 10-hour cranked and ranked Kiss binge, you can.
Yeah. So, well, the point being, Cranked and Revisited is now we're going back because not only is this part of Eddie's journey, as I'm a huge fan. I already would have called myself a huge fan, but I think I've gone even further now to where there are albums that I've gained an appreciation for even more. And maybe it's because the band, quote unquote, wrapped up this cycle. I don't even know what the fuck we're waiting for them, but this weird, whatever next stage of Kiss, but they wrapped up like the legit 4 dudes in a band touring stage of the band. And maybe that's why, I'm now looking at everything there's no matter what they do after this, there's always going to be a mark that's right here. And album wise, the mark is always going to be Monster because that's the last one they did. And so I think it made me start looking at things differently and really assessing, look, what's a great Kiss album? And then what's a Kiss album that you just love the fuck out of and you enjoy the fuck out of, because those aren't mutually exclusive. You can be you can have, there's great albums that I thoroughly enjoy. And then there are albums I thoroughly enjoy that a lot of people would be that's complete shit. That's when Kiss was doing shit music. And I'm just I don't understand that mentality at all, but whatever. So my ranking changed. So what we're doing is we're basically going to go through in one long ass episode. Hopefully this won't be 6 hours. We'll try to stay focused.
Speak for yourself, hombre. Hell yeah!
I don't have that much coffee. It's one cup of coffee here. Okay.
Keep it going, man.
Anyway.
Buzz.
But we're going to go and we're going to re-rank the discography of the full length albums, and I guess can compare it to what it was, and just have another sort of rediscussion on Kiss and So it's interesting. It's going to be one of those things where we get to see what we thought 4 years ago or whatever, and how we think about it now. So should be fascinating, but we really should. I mean, like how many is it? Hold on, I got my note right in front.
24.
Yeah, 24 albums because we're including the 4 solo albums. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and I mean, and that's not, no, we're not even including the Alive albums, and we're not including like ones
That'll
that
be its own ranking.
ones
the
that I
live
really
stuff.
love, like, smashes, thrashes, and hits and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Those are ones that we could talk about at a later date, but so we've got just the main 24 albums, and it's some of it is interesting. Like there are some that have stayed in the same exact spot for me. There are some that have fluctuated a few places, either up or down, but there are a few that have really moved in one direction or the other. And I was, because I literally listened to the 3 episodes and I wrote down my ranking. Then, like maybe it was a week or 2 later, I went and blind ranked them again myself, and then I compared them and I went, holy shit. I was surprised to see how much things have moved around for me.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of a band like Kiss, because I think if you're a really big fan of Kiss, you're going to go through those periods where, you're going to be really in love with Love Gun for a little while. And then maybe later on down the line, you'll be into Animalize. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it just, for me, that kind of shit happens. It just depends on how I'm feeling,
You know what's crazy? I predicted that you were going to say Animalize. Strangely, I knew exactly which album you were going to say. And I don't know why.
Well,
I don't know. That was a weird psychic moment there.
Yeah. I don't know, because
I think that-
Animalize is right. If I'm thinking right, was right smack in the middle of the 80s. So that's kind of like where my brain went.
Yeah, 84. Controversial album, that one, with the old.
I thought that was 85, because wasn't Asylum first, or was Asylum second? It was
Asylum
Animalize and
second.
then Asylum. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right. So here, so that, is it clear what we're doing? I hope so. We're literally just ranking and re-ranking our ranking.
Yep. And I've made a really cool little list. The way I've laid mine out is I have 24 slots. It has old ranking, and then a little dash, then new album, and then it's got an arrow that says, has this album gone up or down?
Yeah, I kind of did that too. Look at us. We're a couple of fucking dorks.
Yeah. Stock market approach to doing a cranked and ranked.
All right, so I say we jump right into it, and we're gonna let Paul lead us in here. Okay. So 24 albums. We're starting at number 24, and then we're gonna let Eddie Sparxx lead us off with his number 24, and I guess however we're gonna do it. What was his 24 and what is now his 24?
Okay.
Go.
My old 24 was Sonic Boom.
Hey, me too.
And my new 24 is the Gene Simmons.
Oh
solo
my
album.
God! We an absolute matchup from the past and the
fucking
present.
way. Whoa!
That's a fun little surprise.
A big thing that shaped my decision with this is that when I first ranked this episode, I had the Peter Criss solo album quite low.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to spoil anything, but the Peter Criss solo album, I have since gone back and listened to, and people always crap on it like it was a tone-deaf decision, or what the hell is he doing? He's not doing,
Yeah.
he's not doing a Kiss sound like the other 3 are using elements of. But you know what? It's a much more focused and consistent album than Gene Simmons' solo album. And I want to come out and say it. I enjoy every Kiss album.
Yeah,
and
me too. Me too.
And I would give even the lowest albums between a 6 and a 7. I enjoy everything here. However, there are moments on this album where I think, hell yeah, and just as many moments where I think, what the fuck were you thinking? And
I mean, I know what he was thinking.
I know what he was thinking.
It was finally he was making an album where Paul and somebody else wasn't going, let's not do that.
Yeah. Yeah. And with mixed results, and don't get me wrong, I do love some tracks on here. Because Come to think of it, I'm going to bring them up right now. Where is it?
I'm gonna jump in because it's obviously also my 24. It moved down
Go
four.
right ahead.
It moved down 4 spots for me from last time, and honestly, every time I go back and listen to it, I was always like, well, what is it that I don't really like about it? Because the songs themselves overall to me aren't that great, but it doesn't help that it overall has the vibe of an album that somebody would put on when they're about to roofie you. And it just has that feeling, a really old sweaty guy who really is trying to be sexy, but he's not quite sure how to do it.
No, you write me sexy letters. Yeah.
But everything about it, even like past his vocals, there's so many spots where I go, why does this feel creepy to me? The whole fucking album. So,
And like, if he set out to set that tone, he fucking nailed it.
oh, well, I mean, I feel like part of it is he's playing his character because I think there are
Yeah.
parts in there that are legit Gene, but I think because I mean, we've seen those clips of him where he's all like talking about like I see some nice looking necks and
Yeah.
out there, but because he really like played it up like he's the demon, he's supposed to be creepy and crass, I guess, a little bit, but. So maybe that was it. It's like the ultimate form of his character, but still.
Yeah. It's the consistency for me. Like you'll get one song and it'll be like, that was cool. Like, Burning Up with Fever or, Tunnel of Love, True Confessions. I like those songs. But like for every Burning Up with Fever, there's an Always Near You, Nowhere to Hide. And yeah,
Honestly, I think my weirdly enough, my favorite on that album, I think, is "See You Tonight," the one that sounds like a Beatles song.
yeah,
I kind of really enjoy that one. Maybe it helps that they ended up doing that one on the Unplugged album, and it really sort of brought out those Beatlesque qualities of it. And I was like, yeah, that's a pretty nice song.
yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I say, something that really shaped my opinion of it as well is the fact that people clown on the Peter Criss solo album, but nobody gives this album the same shit.
Some people do, but yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, some do, but to a much lesser level than the Peter Criss one.
Yeah.
And with that, with repeated listens, I've found the Peter Criss one has a lot of moments that have me going, yeah.
It's got a real charm to it, the Peter Criss one.
Yeah. So with that, you got anything else to say about old number 24?
No. Well, because it was Sonic Boom, so I'll talk about that one later. But now it's Gene Simmons. But yeah, it really is. I 100% would say that if out of every Kiss thing in my collection, including all the Alives and cover albums or whatever, the Gene Simmons one is the last Kiss album I will reach for to put on. So it has to go last for me.
Cool. Well, I'm going to go ahead and chime in with my next one.
23.
23. My number 23, the old 23, was Peter Criss. Mm-hmm. And the new 23 is Monster.
Wow. Okay.
And my reason for that is that at that point, I'm kind of like, I funnily enough, I actually listened to the albums in reverse order this time. Because I wanted, something a bit different. Last time I did it chronologically one way. I wanted to work backwards this time. And with this one, having listened to a lot of Kiss leading up to it off my own back, Monster to me it's not an indictment of its quality. I think every album going forward, it feels more focused than the Gene solo album. But for me, this album really feels like it. On the one hand, it's kind of a bummer that it's the last one, but it's like I can almost kind of tell.
May not be the last one. You never know.
It might not. It might not. But I definitely, when I listen to it, I'm like, yep, this is the culmination of all the styles and all the feels that they've done, and they're putting it all together in one big thing. I think the production on this one, I think my opinions on Monster and Sonic Boom have actually done a little bit of a trade. Strangely, because now when I hear this one, it feels a bit more brick-walled than Sonic Boom does to my ear. It feels a little bit more, a little bit cleaner. And ultimately, it's an album I've not spent nearly as much time with as their 92 and before output.
Yeah.
But that being said, I mean, there's some great stuff on here. Hell or Hallelujah is a ripper of an opener. And honestly, it's a perfectly enjoyable rock album. It kicks ass. There's few Kiss songs to my ear that I don't at least really, really enjoy.
Yeah.
And this one for me, it just happened to end up last because I just liked everything above it so much more.
Yeah.
So what is your old and new?
It funny enough, mine is the complete reverse of yours. My old 23 was Monster. My new 23 is Peter Criss. And Peter Criss has gone down 4 slots from last time. And it's just because I realize that, like, if I'm talking about Kiss albums, I do kind of want a Kiss sound. And Peter Criss is great, but the interesting thing about being the kind of Kiss fan that that we are, where we appreciate all the eras of the band, Peter Criss to me isn't an essential member of Kiss. I don't even really think as a drummer he brought anything necessarily that unique, because like he's not an amazing drummer, but as we talked about when we talked about the Beatles, Ringo was good, but he was pretty straightforward in what he did, but there's a character to the drumming, whereas a lot of Kiss stuff, some of it I think I hear a little bit of his character in, but for the most part, even as a drummer, and then the few songs that he sang, I'm like, well, I like those songs. Like A Hard Luck Woman is one of my favorite Kiss songs, but you look at all the shit that they've done, and I'm like, yeah, Peter Criss is there for a handful of albums out of 24, and
Yeah.
And so while he is, an original member of the band, and I give him props for that, an album that is just Peter Criss, it's like, this isn't. I like things about this. I like it's cool that it kind of just feels like his personality, and I think it's a fun album. But for a Kiss album, I'm like, yeah, this doesn't have all the things that I want, and just Peter Criss isn't enough for me.
Okay.
So it ends up going down to 23, which brings us to 22.
Cool. Well, my 22 is, my 22, my old 22 was Carnival of Souls.
Same here.
My new 22 is Psycho Circus.
All right.
And Psycho Circus for me is a strange one because there's elements of it I really love, and there's elements of it where I'm like, I'm kind of bummed out that it's not the group effort it was marketed as.
Yeah.
Like it was, oh my god, the original lineup is back together, and then you find out that Ace only played on 2 songs and Peter Criss only sang on 1, or two at least.
2,
but
yeah.
But yeah, either way, like 1 as a main guy. So Psycho Circus, there are so many good songs on it that made me think, oh yeah, Psycho Circus, Within, You Wanted the Best, Into the Void. I mean, there's some cracking songs on here. Yeah. I even like the Finally Found My Way ballad, sung by Peter Criss.
Yeah.
And I wish that the camaraderie that is felt on You Wanted the Best is actually across the whole album, but as it turns out, that's not actually the case. I think. Hold on, here it is. Personnel. Let's have a look. So Paul and Gene are on all tracks. Ace Frehley is on 4, 6, and 11, and Peter Criss is on 6, 8, and only plays drums, strangely, on track 4. Yeah, it's a limited amount. There's some moments. Oh, Dreamin'. I like that song, dude. Whenever I read these track lists, I'm like, what the fuck? What the fuck is this doing down here? Yeah. But yeah, it is. These have to go in some sort of order. I have to say, the Psycho Circus music video is the coolest bowling alley strike graphics I have ever seen. Like, it looks exactly like something you would see when you get a strike in a bowling alley.
Yeah.
But that's 1998 for you. Mm-hmm. But yeah, ultimately, I really like it. A fun little anecdote was, what is it? Hip hop duo Insane Clown Posse took issue with the album, feeling it copied their style. The American rapper Violent J referenced this in their song "Everybody Rise" by rapping "Fuck Gene Simmons, you make me sick. Psycho Circus, you stole my shit. Spit your blood out and do your dance, but I'ma kick that ass through your leather pants."
I guarantee you they did in '98. They didn't know who Insane Clown Posse were.
And like, not being funny.
Yeah, what a unique idea. Psycho clown stuff. That's really unique. Jesus fucking Christ.
And I'm gonna come right out and say it. Kiss could sue them for the similarity of their makeup to them. You know. I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But either way,
fucking magnets. How do they work?
Yeah. At this point, though, we are we're in the love zone from start to finish for me on this one. I love everything.
Love zone. Speaking of the next revisited,
everybody got in the love zone. Hell yeah!
I love fucking that Judas Priest era. Jesus Christ. Oh, back to Kiss. So,
yes.
My number 22 last time was Carnival of Souls also, but now it's Sonic Boom. That honestly has moved up 2 spots. So it was lower last time. And for me, it's like the opposite, where I think that Monster is a far superior album to Sonic Boom. And I think I probably brought this up on the last ranking. There's 2 things about it I don't like. It seems really overly compressed, and you can hear the auto-tune on Paul's voice way too much on this album.
Yeah.
That being said, I'm waiting to get... This is the one I don't have on vinyl, and I'm waiting to get it on vinyl because I got Monster on vinyl. I don't ever want to listen to that album any other way. It sounds so much better on vinyl than it does on the CD. Wow. I don't know what the difference is, but it sounds way more alive, and... I don't know. I don't know what it is. It's a great pressing. Whoever did it, kudos. But Sonic Boom, it has some fun songs on it, but I almost feel like, because this is like the first album that they had done in a little while at that point, they're trying to find their footing and like do some classic sounding Kiss stuff, but a little bit updated. And I feel like the songwriting isn't all there. So while I enjoy this album for what it is, and honestly, at this point, it's such a long time ago that it's weird when things from the mid 2000 era or whatever all of a sudden start feeling nostalgic because it's been that long now.
Yeah.
But I remember picking up Sonic Boom at fucking Walmart, I believe. I was just there.
They did a big marketing thing with that, didn't they?
I think they did. I just remember being there to pick up something and seeing the double CD because it had Sonic Boom and then also had a re-recorded Kiss classics. And so I picked it up and I just remember being like, "Oh, cool!" And I didn't love it then, but I was like, I just loved it. There was some new Kiss stuff. So there's a little bit of nostalgia there, but aside, you take that out of it. and I'm just like, the songs aren't there for me, and there's other little production wise things that I don't really like. So while Sonic Boom did move up 2 spots, it still is in the 20s here. So that ends up being my new 22. Moving on to 21.
I can jump right off of that because my old 21 was Music from the Elder.
That is way too low. I hope that gets improved.
I knew you'd say that. My new is Sonic Boom. So Sonic Boom has moved up 3 spots, and that came from the recognition that Modern Day Delilah and Say Yeah are bangers, and they bookend an album with a lot of songs that I feel like I hadn't really given a fair shot the first time around because I'd only heard them one time through. And of course, when a band gets this late in their career and they've established so many classics, standing up to that, you're going to have a hard time doing that. But, I mean, to have the audacity to have a song that goes, danger you, danger me, danger us.
Dangerous!
I fucking love that. I just love dumb fun.
Yes. That is the best way to put that song. That is some dumb fun right there.
But it's not all music has to be deep. Some is good to get right to the point. Just like Gene's method of speed dating, just going up to women and asking to fuck them and basically keep getting declined until it works.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't I honestly don't understand people that their musical palette is so small and so limited that everything has to be one particular thing. And I'm just like, how fucking sad of a life is that? But I also understand that those people are usually people that don't listen to a lot of music. And so they probably have a wider palette when it comes to like sports or movies or TV or whatever the fuck they're into,
Yeah, it's this to me, like, it's not an album that blows me away, but as far as albums go, I think for a band this late in the game to put something out that is good. Is good. So, is good. So, with that, I mean, I've not really got much else to say other than I like the songs, and I feel like I was a little unfair to it the first time around. This album and Monster do give me the vibe of, reality TV, riff rock for every now and again. But you know what? Every band of this ilk did that at some point. So
yeah. All right, cool. Well, then moving on to my 21. My old 21 was Psycho Circus, and now my new 21, which has gone down 5 spots now. You're not going to be happy about this one. It's Hot in the Shade is number 21.
I mean, I get it. Before you say I get it, but there are things about it for me that have the people listening don't know. For some reason, Hot in the Shade has really clicked with me lately, and I've just not shut up about it outside of the show.
It's great though. Like, here's the thing: this is a great album, but the songs that I really like. The songs that
ow.
Oh, I love that one.
Yeah. Do.
Yeah, and I love Rise to It and Forever. Obviously, it's an amazing ballad. And there's other ones that on here that I think are great. But for every song that I love, there's like a Cadillac Dreams or Little Caesar or just these songs that are just like.
You ain't gonna do my boy Eric Carr dirty like that. Little Caesar rips. That song's great.
It's fine, but it's like, I feel like they could easily have cut at least 5 tracks from this album to improve it, but those other tracks that are just kind of weak are just there, and on top of it, the album is very long. and it doesn't have the benefit of having that really big, fun 80s production. Doesn't have that. It's a, because it's essentially demos that they kind of fixed up, and I think that's what they wanted to go for, a little bit more of a raw for Kiss sound, and I understand that, and I do think it sounds good, but that's a thing from that era that I'm like, well, maybe if there was a bigger sound to it, it would be a more fun album, but it's missing something for me,
See, I'm gonna come around and say I feel like that I would have agreed with you 4 years ago when we did this episode.
Yeah, I almost feel like I'm saying things that you would have said.
However, to counter this, to kind of to throw it a bone, I feel like this album is very unique in its sound. It kind of feels like that stepping stone from Crazy Nights to Revenge. It's kind of like a necessary stepping stone,
Sure,
to being like, because to be honest, I feel like it's physically impossible to get more 80s than Crazy Nights. It is like if you get to the Crazy Nights level, there's nowhere left to go. Like when you've got that much reverb, that many crazy vocal lines, amazing guitar playing, and a fuck ton of keyboards over all of it.
Yeah.
You're only going to end up following it up with something that sounds the same but not as iconic. So in a way, I've grown to really appreciate this album as like, we did the big keyboard thing, time to get back to guitars. And and speaking as someone who adores keyboards in 80s rock, I feel like there's a progression of that, and they peak with Crazy Nights, and then once that's done, I think it's like, right, cool, we've perfected that. Time to go the Cinderella route and get a little rootsy with it.
More likely, Guns N' Roses was a big influence on them.
The sleazier, rawer sort of thing.
But even then, the production of that first Guns N' Roses album, I would have loved to have heard that on Hot in the Shade. I mean, man, I just want to. That's the thing, is that like the unfortunate thing about being the kind of fan that I am, and the kind of things that interest me, is that you're always going to get these like in-depth books or documentaries about like making these classic albums. I don't know, like if they did like a in-depth documentary, they would do one probably on like Destroyer or something, which is an amazing album. Yeah. But I want in-depth documentaries about Crazy Nights, Turbo, like albums like that. Yeah. Like I want to know about those, because that time period with these bands, I'm like, this is just so much fucking fun, and probably a lot of drugs, and that's fine. But that period, we've talked about this before. Now we're further and further away from that period of the 80s. So now that stuff is to me, in my brain, has been so romanticized now, because I'm like, we're never going to get back there again. I don't think, not in our lifetime. Like it's this unique period where, sure, you had 80s sounding stuff, but then everything came to a head where all of a sudden it was like everything was big, and there were keyboards and synthesizers, and everything got massive. And I'm just like, I love that. It's just such a great time period.
Yeah,
but that's not Hot in the Shade. I don't know why I'm moving on talking about something else. Hot in the Shade is my number 21, and as much as I do like songs off of it, it doesn't do a lot for me as an album altogether. So moving on, your number 20.
Okay, my number 20, my old 20 was Monster. Mm-hmm. My new 20 is Music from the Elder.
It's still way too low, dude.
It's gone up. It's gone up. It has gone up. And I just feel like, for me, Music from the Elder it's fun for what it is, but I'm going off of, for this one, what am I looking for from a Kiss album? And this is arguably
Not this.
arguably the furthest removed from Kiss as a concept in itself.
I don't know.
But like thing is, I understand like the theatrics of something like Destroyer.
Yeah.
You know, but both albums are Bob Ezrin productions, right? You
Yeah.
know, each individual song is this like theater where it's like, oh my god, this song is the biggest thing I've ever fucking heard in 1976. Each individual song, the songs run smoothly. They above all else, they are rock songs.
Yeah.
Okay, this one goes very, very, very down the route of like, you know, the progressive rock thing, which I love. I think is very cool. However, when you are coming off the heels of an album like Unmasked and are going to immediately follow this up with Creatures of the Night, in a way, I respect it as it's like its own little thing. But I'm gonna come right out and say I think The Oath is an amazing song. I absolutely love The Oath. And God, what's that? Dark Light. I love Dark Light. I have my favorites from this album, but very few. I as well. Yeah, I is quite campy and fun.
What about A World Without Heroes?
Yeah, they're cool. They're
Love that
cool,
song.
but I think the whole is better than the sum of its parts. And I think if you're talking Kiss, people are going to be like, Kiss songs, you know?
Yeah.
This album in particular, I mean, you got Fanfare, Escape from the Island, and Finale, which you know, are all little instrumental interludes.
Yeah.
And I get that. You know, Escape from the Island's a bit more cinematic. But one thing I will say, bizarre fucking writing credit, Lou Reed wrote some of Dark Light. Did you know that?
No, I don't think so. No, that's
Yeah, Ace Frehley, Anton Fig, Lou Reed, and Gene Simmons wrote Dark Light.
interesting.
Yeah, and it's again, it's a case of what am I thinking when I go to a Kiss album? And,
Yeah.
you know, I like bands that do stuff like this. I am not thinking of Dungeons and Dragons when I want a Kiss album. I'm thinking of getting some poontang. You know, so it's cool, and it's one of those albums I have to be in the right mood for, and when it hits, it hits. I think The Oath is a fantastic proto power metal song, and I will stick that on often. Dark Light as well. But for the most part, I think this album it's just a vibe. The Kiss rock and roll vibe has been traded out here for this Odyssey, if pardon the pun. And it's cool, but it's not what I'm reaching for when I'm reaching for a Kiss album.
I get that.
One thing I will say is though, I am just
Oh.
a boy,
Yeah.
too young to be sailing. Mew 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 mew. Do do do. Sorry, I got a little carried away there.
Yeah. Okay.
I know you love it, and I like
love it even more. Like it's
I-
it's become an album that I'm just like every time I listen to it, it gets better for me because I start. You know, there's the obvious standouts from that album for me, but then there's like everything else. Like once I listen to it, I'm like, this is just so well done for what it is, and I just
by no means is it bad, in my opinion.
I mean, some would say, but
I think a lot would say, but coming from someone who loves this band pretty much unconditionally at this point,
Yeah.
it's still, it has yet to plant a love tree in my heart.
yeah,
And I'm sure it will.
Love Tree. Do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. All right. So my number 20, my number 20 was Gene Simmons.
You pulled the twig off my love tree.
My number 20 was Gene Simmons, but now that's all the way at the bottom. Now this is a strange one for me because I really went through and I started thinking about like what are albums that I'm hanging on to the fact that I love just a couple or 2 or 3 songs so much. But this album actually dropped 15 spots from last time.
Fucking hell.
15 spots. And I
You get
love
roofied to this album, man?
I love this album. But my number 20 is now Rock and Roll Over. And it's simply because it's an album that has, like you said with Elder, it's the sum of its parts. You take it apart, it's not as good as me just holding up and looking at the album cover and knowing that there's a few songs that I absolutely love on it. But playing the album all the way through, there are several pretty weak tracks when it comes to this era of Kiss. And just some that just feel like they were just rushed and to put on here. And so I'm like, well, that's not very fair to these other albums where there's more to it that I enjoy. Whereas this one, taking into consideration all the albums around it, I went, yeah, this one's like, I love this one. But if you're going to just pick out a song, like, you know, I mean, a good punching bag is See You in Your Dreams Tonight. That's one that I'm just like, yeah. And he did that one twice. And so it's got random songs like that where I just go, yeah, this isn't great. But it's got, you know, like Take Me, which I fucking love, Take Me, and Hard Luck Woman. I love those songs. But yeah, it's just, it doesn't have, as an album, it doesn't hold up once you start stripping things away. And so I had to be really honest with myself and be like, look, this may be one that I really like, but I really think that 19 albums are better than this one. So my number 20 is Rock and Roll Over.
Man, I'm feeling a lot more secure in myself now, knowing that whatever nuclear warhead was pointed at me for putting Crazy Nights so high last time is now pointed at you for putting Rock and Roll Over this low. God, I mean,
that's not the last quote unquote hot take in here.
You know, where's this next one dropped to? So this next one, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. This one, my next one has dropped 5 places. Okay, my old 19 was Psycho Circus.
Okay.
And this is going to shock you coming from me. My number 19, my new number 19 is Animalize.
Hey, mine too.
Okay.
My old 19 was Peter Criss, and my new 19, which actually dropped 1 spot, is Animalize.
And I'm gonna come right out and say it.
Don't do that. It's a family show.
That's a fair point. Tell you what, I'm gonna step out of frame, take care of my business, and come right back. No. So I have two reasons for putting this much lower down than I did before.
Okay.
Mark St. John, while being a good player, does not write memorable guitar parts and doesn't have enough personality as a lead player to stand out in a band that has had Ace Frehley, Vinnie Vincent,
Bruce
Kulick, and Tommy Thayer.
Tommy Thayer too, yeah. But him being, he has the unfortunate position of being on one album in between Vinnie Vincent and Bruce Kulick. So yeah. And don't get me wrong, like his life and how it went is tragic, and this is not me spitting in the eye of a dead man's face. However, you know, I am just simply coming out and saying,
from what I've heard from the people involved in this album, I'm still not onto my second thing yet. My first reason for this being, a weaker Kiss album is that the lead guitar work is far too much unmemorable shred scales and not enough melody in a band that is known for that. Even Vinnie Vincent, when he would do his shreddy thing, he would follow it up with something singable. Whereas Mark St. John, there's probably like 2 bars of singable solo on this album. And the other reason is Gene Simmons was not involved enough in the process of this album to make his songs strong enough to stand up with Paul Stanley's songs. I think the Paul Stanley half of this album.
Let's be fair. There are several albums where Gene doesn't stand up to Paul's songwriting. Unfortunately,
this being probably the first major instance of Paul's material being much stronger than Gene's.
Yeah,
Creatures, Gene was on fire. Lick It Up, still pretty on top of things. When we get to like the No Makeup past Lick It Up, and right up until I think Gene, kind of had a redemption arc on Revenge, but when it comes to the 80s output, Animalized through Hot in the Shade, there's a clear distinction between who's actually engaged in the material and who isn't. So most of the 80s albums are me just basically going to be filleting Paul Stanley.
I do that anyway all the time,
Yeah.
just because Paul is my favorite Kiss
Yeah,
member.
he really has become my favorite Kiss member. When I first got into Kiss, I was really drawn to Ace because he was like the cool, quiet one who didn't start singing until Love Gun, and then when he did, he just became the rock guy in the band.
Yeah.
And of course, his solo album is fucking killer.
Yeah.
But coming back around to that, my respect for Paul Stanley, knowing that for a while he was the only guy really driving the ship. Gene was off being a movie star. Kiss was Paul's baby at this point in their career.
Yeah.
And I'm going to list off the Paul songs, and then I'm going to list off the Gene songs.
Okay.
We've got I've Had Enough, Into the Fire. Mm-hmm. Killer song,
Yep.
killer opener. Really, the metal moments on this are probably the most metal they ever did.
Yeah.
With the notable exception of a few moments on Creatures. But I've Had Enough, Into the Fire is killer. Heaven's on Fire. You've got Get All You Can Take, which features the only 3 F-bombs ever uttered in any Kiss song ever. Mm-hmm. Crazy how, he's not said the F-word in any other song, and in this one he does it 3 times. What fucking difference does it make?
Yeah.
Under the Gun, fucking love that song, dude. That thing rips. Thrills in the Night, great, catchy song. I'm now going to list off the Gene Simmons tracks, and please don't take this as me shitting on Gene this entire episode, because there are plenty of things I love about the guy. The first track is Burn Bitch Burn.
Yeah. Not a strong start.
And I'm going to say that Burn Bitch Burn is the stronger of the 2 Gene songs on this side. Because you got Burn Bitch Burn featuring the line, I want to throw my log in your fireplace.
Yep.
And at least Burn Bitch Burn has a little bit of go to it.
Yeah.
Because Lonely is the Hunter is one of the most listless Kiss songs. Outgoing, I think.
Yeah.
Lonely is the Hunter. Is he lonely? I don't know, but he's lonely.
Yeah.
And he's a hunter.
Yeah, there are several Kiss songs that have that where it's like there's a title to the song and they just figure out how to sing it in the chorus and they don't add anything
Yeah.
else to it. And I'm like, that's when those are album tracks where they're just like, let's just finish
Yeah.
this shit up and throw it on the album.
Yeah, you got While the City Sleeps.
Yeah.
And I will give them Murder in High Heels as an entertaining song.
Yeah.
I love anything that someone could strip to is a good song in my opinion. Yeah, love it. But all in all, it's clear that this is the point where Paul begins to completely overshadow Gene as the frontman of Kiss.
Yeah.
You know, before it was kind of a 50-50. I mean, Paul has been the voice, really, but Gene's been the visual element. But at this point, I mean, they've got in the music videos, Paul Stanley very often doesn't even have a guitar. You know, he'll just be like, you know, dressed up in the craziest outfits, jumping off of trapezes and you know, just undulating with crowds of women. Simply put, the 80s was Paul's time to shine.
Yeah. But you know what? But I kind of feel for him though, because if I was him in the situation, if I was in a band that was that big and then the other main guy in the band was like, I kind of want to go off and be an actor. And I would be like, I don't want to do that. I just want to do music. Can we just do music? Why we got to do this other stupid shit?
Yeah.
And because I've been in so many bands where one or more members were not 100% into it. And I'm just like, oh, that fucking sucks. And I mean, it's a little bit better when you're an established band and you can just plow forward. But when you're like a nobody band, you're like, well, what the fuck do I do? I don't have money to hire session people or, you know, whatever. So if I was in Paul's shoes, I would do the same thing and be like, you know what? I'm just going to fucking take the shit over. I'm fucking Paul Stanley and this is fucking Kiss. Go do your little funny, you know, movies where you're trying to be a villain, whatever the fuck you're doing. And I'm going to write some killer fucking 80s rock tunes.
He was in an episode of Miami Vice as well. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. I mean, he was. I remember like around the time I got into Kiss is when I saw the movie Runaway, where he plays the villain, and that is I haven't seen it since the '80s, but I remember it being very '80s. I remember there being like robotic spiders or some shit in it. I don't know.
That's epic. Hey, I have a certain soundbite I want you to hit me with.
Oh, okay.
Every once in a while, we like to get a little wasted. We like to take a taste of alcohol.
Thanks, Paul.
I fucking love this thing.
Paul is like like somebody that like I admire him as a singer and a performer and a songwriter, but at the same time, he is also just a funny dude. Sometimes intentionally funny and sometimes unintentionally funny. And so I love that about him. I'm just like, he's the dude from the band that I kind of want to just go chill and hang out with. And he can just talk my ear off. I don't got to say a fucking word. Just, you know, tell him, talk to me about some shit. Anyway,
absolutely.
So Animalize is also my number 19 and I kind of feel the same. There's not enough standout tracks on here for me. And really, when it comes to Animalize, aside from the couple tracks that I think are really strong, I enjoy the album just as the vibe of that time period, the vibe of this era of Kiss.
Oh, yeah.
So I thoroughly enjoy it. But once again, just like I said with like Rock and Roll Over, if I start picking it apart, I go, yeah, there's not a lot more for me there. But I do enjoy, I mean, you know me, I do enjoy that 80s era of stuff. So,
You know, I have been thinking, there are several slashed and mashed episodes we could milk out of Kiss.
Sure, yeah.
And I've been thinking, two of them in particular I've been thinking are Creatures and Lick It Up, Animalize and Asylum, Crazy Nights and Hot in the Shade, maybe. Just as like these little... Because there's this kind of period where they do these albums in like clumps, where it's kind of like Rush, where you can kind of be like, this is their first 3 albums, and they're just kind of doing songs. these are the next three albums, and they get into concept album territory. This is where they get a little bit poppier and the synthesizers show up.
Yeah.
This is where they're essentially a hard rock version of the Police. This is where they stop doing that. You know, it's just it'll be a cool thing to do some Kiss slashed and mashed. You know,
Sure. Yeah. I mean, I definitely think Animalize and Asylum could do with that.
yeah,
For some reason, Creatures and Lick It Up feel very different to me as albums. And same thing with Crazy Nights and Hot in the Shade. They feel like very
be the
different
makeup.
albums. I don't know. It's musically. I don't fucking know. I'm probably adding my own weird shit to it, but
I definitely think Creatures is sonically superior to Lick It Up. I think whatever they did on Creatures, they should have done again on Lick It Up. I think the drum sound is much stronger on Creatures than it is on Lick It Up.
big ass drum sound.
And that's coming from someone who loves 80s drum sounds
Yeah.
and will defend them to the hilt, despite many purists absolutely fucking despising that.
Yeah.
Needless to say, however, we're celebrating that today because we got a fuckload of these albums to talk about.
Yep. Okay. Yeah. So that we're done with that one. We can move on to number 18 now.
Okay. So my old 18 is Gene Simmons. My new 18 is Peter Criss.
Hey, just swapping out.
Yep.
Swapping out two dudes.
I've really come to love the Peter Criss solo album. Let me get this thing up here. Peter Criss solo album. Bada boom, bada bing. Yeah, I've really come around to the rock, the soulful R&B stylings of this album. I'm Gonna Love You, You Matter to Me, Tossing and Turning, Don't You Let Me Down. That's the kind of Sugar Papa likes, man. I fucking love that song. That song gets the hips going. I do think that side A is stronger than side B, but the good songs on side B are very enjoyable. I think it's a little too ballad heavy side two, because if you were to, it gets to a point actually where you could split this album down the middle and be like, this is the rockin' half, here's the ballad half, and that it suits his voice. He's got a great voice for it.
Yeah.
And it starts with I'm Gonna Love You, You Matter to Me. You Matter to Me straddles the line of ballad and upbeat, but it's got that Moog, whistle synth that Vinnie Poncia is involved in the writing of that, and I'm not surprised at all with the keyboard presence on that one. Shout out Vinnie Poncia doing the what's it called, production on, I think it's Dynasty and Unmasked, because I love those albums. Tossing and Turning, Don't You Let Me Down is a softer one. Just like songs like Hooked on Rock and Roll, and that's the kind of Sugar Papa likes. Just there's just something about him, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It really does sound like he was having a good time making the album, and it makes it enjoyable.
That's what I like about it, because ultimately, I think even Gene has come around and said he doesn't like his solo album. I think, whereas Peter Criss, I completely believe it. You know, he is the oldest guy in the band, and he comes from a slightly older music background, and I think it's a fucking crying shame that, I mean, look at these review scores for this album. Completely undeserving, in my opinion. All Music gives it a 2. Collector's Guide to Heavy Metal is a 1 out of 10. Pitchfork is a 0 out of 10. Rolling Stone Album Guide is a 1 star. Spin Alternative Record Guide is a 1 out of 10. Uncut is a 1 out of 10. It's like, come on. You are measuring that by the metric of it is being marketed as a Kiss album, and it's a little light on the heavy.
Or more likely, when you're dealing with publications like Pitchfork, it's people like writing about albums they shouldn't be writing about because they don't like it anyway. It's like, that's why like most music journalism is complete shite. So that's why I've never wanted to present myself as some kind of authority or base most of what I do on like reviews of stuff because I'm just like, no, because I have to put into perspective my experience and also decide, well, should I actually be talking about that? So I'm not gonna, aside, maybe one day, like here, if we ranked like, I don't know, Godsmack or some band like that, you would hear me being very critical of it. But outside of this show, I'm never going to talk about that band because I'm like, I don't like it. I don't like what they do. So what's the point of me trying to rate one of their albums where I'm just like, you know what, this band that I don't like, guess what? This album sucks. It's like,
Yeah. Yeah, it would be like me, trying to pass myself off as a Justin Bieber connoisseur. It's just not going to work.
That's an even better example because like that's way off of my radar and I'm not going to like it, but well, I work for this publication, so I'm going to write a review. You know what? Just fuck Justin Bieber. His music is stupid, and it's where's the rock and roll? Well, yeah, you're not reviewing a rock and roll album. Doesn't matter.
Yeah,
doesn't matter. Anyway, what are we on number? Oh, Peter Criss. Are you done with Peter Criss for number 18?
Yeah.
All right. My number 18 was Animalize. And now my number 18 is Monster, that has moved up 5 spaces from last time. And mostly it's got to do with this most recent, me recently getting it on vinyl and hearing it a couple times like that. And I was like, God, there really are some great songs on here that I love. And I just think, as you said with Sonic Boom, for a band like at this point in their career and technically their last album, but also an album made when they were all 60 or something, I guess. I don't know. It's pretty fucking good. And it's got some great songs on it and it doesn't have a boring moment on it for me. It really just sort of has a great energy all the way through. And I love some of the songs and overall it's really fun. It really does and I love the fact, and I'll say this about Sonic Boom also. I love the fact that they did do some songs that are reminiscent of what Kiss is well known for, but you hear some songs where you go, they're still doing some newer stuff. They're still not just phoning it in and making the same kind of cookie cutter stuff. There's songs that you can tell they're like, well, we're doing something a little different here and we're going to make this, a Kiss song. And I appreciate that. Even as that down the line, they literally could have just done a carbon copy of their first album, and people would have loved it. I probably still would have loved it too. But there's just enough of that in there, but also some updated type stuff on there that sounds like. I really do think that Paul Stanley is a guy that is just a massive music fan and never stops listening to stuff. Yeah. And so I think that even as an older guy, he still gets influenced by things. And so that's probably why the quality's there. I think to an extent Gene's like that too, but Paul definitely. Anyway.
Yeah.
So my number 18 is Monster. So moving on to number 17. Are we halfway through? What's the halfway point of 24? What's math?
12.
We're not there yet.
Yeah, we're about a quarter of the way there.
All right, guys.
Hell yeah,
how's everybody doing out there? Everybody okay? Let's just check in, pulse check. All right.
Cool. Right.
Cool.
Well. Cool. Nice.
Number 17.
So with my number 17, I'm on my number 17. So my old number 17 sounds like a whiskey. Old number 17 is Hot in the Shade. My new number 17 is Carnival of Souls.
Okay, yeah.
This album, I am going to come right out and say it. This would be a big grunge album if it wasn't made by Kiss.
Yeah, I agree. I agree.
I will stand by that. I think the songwriting stands up. I think there is an excellent selection of songs here. It's a bit long, sure. Maybe you could take a couple tracks off and it'd still be kind of long. But I mean, dude, I'm not even pissed off that there's some clear Alice in Chains plagiarism going on.
Yeah.
Because I'm not even upset by it because they've done an excellent job of oh, dude, like
But here's the thing. You know why that doesn't bother me at all anymore? Because
I like that sound.
Well, that too. But flash forward to now, you have bands coming out that you'll see people write about them and say, "Oh, they're bringing back a grunge sound," and it doesn't sound right. Like
No.
none of them are doing music that sounds like grunge. It sounds
at
like
best it'll sound like Queens of the Stone Age.
or post some sort of post grunge kind of shit. But
Yeah.
but now I listen to Carnival of Souls and I'm like, this is what it should sound like. You know, if a band comes back and like does a throwback sound, can they do something this good at least, please? So
Speaking of people that do a kind of a grunge throwback, my band Sage.
your
Got a lot-
band sounds closer to Carnival of Souls.
That is a huge. You don't understand what a compliment that is. There are a lot of people who would be offended by that, but I wear that as a badge of honor because this album is criminally overlooked. And
Well,
there
to be fair, it's probably also because it's not even really considered a legitimate album because they weren't going to put it out.
and then it got leaked.
Yeah.
Thank fuck it did, man.
Yeah, yeah.
So many good songs on here, and it's kind of a Bruce Kulick showcase because I'm pretty sure there's a Kulick writing credit on nearly every song. There's a Ken Tamplin writing credit. There's a Jamie St. James
Who's
writing credit.
Ken Tamplin?
He's a big vocal coach, a really good rock singer. I think he got involved in some sort of scam controversy, though.
Shit.
I don't
Allegedly.
have the authority to come out and say that. I've watched several of his videos in the past, and the dude can fucking wail. I just heard something recently.
Can he wail like this though?
Almost. Yeah.
While his hands are on fire?
Dude, I've been thinking, are those Paul Stanley's hands? Because
Probably.
they're kind of out of frame. So could it be that there's a stunt guy who dressed his hands up like Paul Stanley and is waggling? Watch
Somebody
it
send
again.
this video to Paul Stanley. And,
I want to
and
know if they are Paul's
Oh.
hands.
Are those really your hands? Please.
And this is, because if Paul comes back and says he does his own stunts, fuck yeah. But I just simply the risk factor of lighting your hands on fire with that much Aquanet on.
It was still close enough to his head.
Yeah, but like
Gone
I
up
just
in
feel
flames.
I feel like if we lit his hands on fire, there would be a lot more paperwork involved. So
Yeah.
it's the fact that the forearms to the elbow are out of shot.
Yeah,
You know?
don't ruin this music video for me. I want to go to my grave thinking that it's Paul Stanley's hands. Okay,
Okay.
Let me have that.
All right, fun fact, they actually lit his ass on fire, but they didn't keep it in the shot. He was pissed about that.
Yeah, that's the director's cut of the video.
Yeah, that was the uncensored version. Anyway,
Yes,
as I was saying,
Carnival of Souls.
there's a 1, 2, 3 track punch, in my opinion, with Hate, Rain, and Master and Slave. Incredibly grunge vibes. Hate, I will come out and say Hate to me is a 10 out of 10 grunge song. That song kicks the fucking door in. And if Alice in Chains did it, it would be on a greatest hits album.
Yeah.
Like I will.
It's great, and honestly,
Yeah.
I love the sound of this album too. It sounds a little bit like they left the presets on from that last Alice in Chains album,
Yeah.
from the Tripod album. They left the presets there because it's the
just
same
happened to be next
producer
door.
or same engineer,
Walked in.
I believe, that worked on both.
Wow.
But it doesn't matter. I like the sound of both of those albums. So
Yeah, Toby Wright is an American record producer and mixing engineer who has worked with artists such as Alice in Chains, Metallica, Seven Dust and Korn, which completely makes sense with the what's it called material on this album.
yeah,
Dude, fucking there's so many good ones, and I really do think this album is overlooked, and I know it was never intended to be put out because they recorded it and then the reunion happened. But
Can you imagine the alternate reality of the reunion didn't happen and they put out this album?
yeah,
What I don't think it would have done very well.
I think and even
It would have
Paul
had
Stanley,
it would have had the reception of the self-titled Motley Crue album. It would have come out. Some
Yeah.
people would have liked it, but for the most part, everyone would have gone, eh.
Hey fellow kids, it's the hey fellow kids syndrome. But
Yeah.
the thing is, when you are working with people that are such good songwriters, there's a positive result here as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned, and I truly think that sonically, if it didn't have the Kiss name on it, it would be a grunge classic. But
Probably.
it's just hard to hear dark lyrics come out of Paul Stanley's mouth and be believable. But for people like us who love Alice in Chains and Kiss, like the supreme master race that we are becoming, the Christmas dogs. I'm gonna, you know what? We're gonna scratch supreme master race from the record. We
Yeah,
don't want
yeah,
to
let's-
any ideas.
Yeah. I'll allow it.
Christmas dogs, Belvedere bull setters, aluminium squirrels. I think I've done it in reverse order.
Yeah, you did, and you still got
Peanut butter platypus.
Yep.
There you go.
Those
Just
are-
know that in the hierarchy. No, it's okay. Right, so what we're gonna do is Carnival of Souls over here. This is a damn good album, and I think people should give it the credit it deserves.
Yeah.
30 years after it was recorded.
yeah, I
Because
agree.
hot damn, there's some good shit on here.
Yep.
Even if there is a moment where it goes, I think it's gonna rain.
It's a good song though.
Yeah, that's the thing. And also, what song is it with? I think it might be Rain that has the Them Bones ish riff. Down, 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 down.
Yeah, I think that's it. There's another one on there that's very Alice in Chainsy riff wise too.
A lot of it is Alice
Well,
in
yeah, let's be
Chainsy.
So
It's like here's how I'm going to wrap this up in a bow.
Okay.
If you took the best parts of Alice in Chains and Soundgarden and Kiss did them, that's this. So
yeah.
give it a go.
I mean, yeah, they did a good job for what they were going for. They nailed what they were wanting to do. They just ended up not wanting to put it out, which I understand. But
But Kiss of all bands, the most over the top of
Yeah.
that era, it's wild.
yeah. So for my number 17, this is uneventful because my number 17 last time was Asylum, and my number 17 this time is Asylum. So that one did not move at all, and it still hangs out in this area because like I said with Animalize, I love the vibes of the album. I think it's got better songs than Animalize, honestly. More standout tracks, more fun songs. I just think out of the two, it's the superior album. But once again, as I'm talking about with a few of these albums, once you start picking it apart and looking at it song by song, you go, yeah, it's not all killer, but I definitely love the vibe. There's only a few. Asylum, Animalize, and Crazy Nights are the three albums that if I want a particular Kiss era, they feel this certain way that I want. And so that's enjoyable. But I think, as you're going to hear me talk about later, out of those three, there's a clear winner for me. And so, but Asylum is my number 17 again. So
Cool. I've got Asylum a little higher up. Mm-hmm. Won't spoil anything, but my number. Am I on number 16 now?
number 16.
My number 16 used to be Dressed to Kill. My new number 16 is Hot in the Shade.
All right. That's actually lower than I expected this one to be, but yeah.
Yep, I'm being completely fair to everything I've put above it. But considering where it placed last time, where is it? The place before, it used to be 17. It is now 16.
Oh, okay.
It is. It's one of those things where I've really grown an appreciation for it, but I am pretty comfortable with where it sits because at the end of the day, it's got some killer stuff on it, and frankly, every Paul Stanley song on this smashes. This is it's another 80s Paul Stanley showcase, but here Gene feels a bit more into it again. Songs like Betrayed, Prisoner of Love. I mean, you know, what other ones are there? There's fucking Somewhere Between Heaven and Hell. Yeah. And The Street Giveth and The Street Taketh Away. Like, granted, he's got some wordy song titles towards the back half of the album. Yeah. But
I really like I always really like in the Rise to It video. At the beginning of the video, it's supposed to be in the 70s and they're putting their makeup on, and Paul's like, you know, we could do it without the makeup. And then I just love
take the makeup off.
Yeah, because the way Gene does it, he's crazy. He's like, take the makeup off? You're crazy. What do you mean? Take the makeup off? You're nuts.
Yeah, I love that video.
Yeah.
You ever notice how that music video looks like someone's rubbed something all over the lens?
Yeah, they did the whatever they call it. It's almost like the fantasy, like the same lenses that they use for like Playboy home videos.
Yeah.
Not that I've ever seen any of those. Anyway,
who you kidding? We all have. But yeah, it's for me. This is yet again a Paul Stanley showcase, but Gene feels more at home here now, and this is what I mean. This is what I mean by it being.
That's what happens when you figure out you're not going to be a movie star. You're like, oh wait, I'm in Kiss. All right.
Yeah, it's. I want to take a moment to really talk about the writing credits on here. Now, in stark contrast to a lot of people. Yeah. And it's funny because I always thought Paul Stanley and Michael Bolton had similar voices. I think they could. Yeah. I think they could write songs for each other relatively easily. And considering they worked together and Forever came out of it, dude, I'm going to come right out and say it. Forever is a top 10 power ballad.
Also, didn't Michael Bolton's first album, wasn't it like a hard rock album, his first one?
The first couple, yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody's crazy. Funny, Bruce Kulick is the guitarist on that album.
Nice. And then eventually he gets to, how am I supposed to live without you? Which, to be fair, that's for what it is, it's a banger.
Yeah. I could hardly believe it when I heard the news today. I had to come and get it straight from you.
And then flash forward like 20 years later, he was with that Lonely Island song. That this is the tale of Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah. Oh, but there's a Tommy Thayer co-write on this. You know,
yeah.
Clearly friends with the band Black and Blue because there's a Jamie St. James on another album as well. But yeah, there's coming back around to what I was saying. I am not against co-writes with the people outside of the band.
Neither am I. If something good comes out of it, I don't mind.
Yeah, it's like, you know, if you had like a string of great albums where it's all your own shit and you start working with outside people and it starts sucking, that's a different story. But
I mean, I feel like the people that have a problem with that are the people that haven't done enough songwriting in their life, because every one of us, and that's happened so many times in my life, even more recently, where you just hit a wall and you're just like, I need people to bounce things off of, or somebody to like give me a jumping off point. And unfortunately, even if it is that they're now a co-writer. So, but in some cases you have like, you know, fucking Aerosmith, one of their biggest songs ever. They didn't even fucking write one part of it. It was where what do we call it? The Don't Want to Miss a Thing. Like that's
Yep.
that's not their song. That's
Yeah.
completely written by somebody else. But they put their stamp on it, and it's a little cheeseball, but I love it.
Cha-ching, baby.
Oh hell
That's all
yeah,
I'll say.
man! Oh hell yeah!
But the thing, it's something as well. I can attest to that because I've written songs, and
Speaking of that, where are you on our collaboration? You told me to keep bothering you about it.
you need to bug me. You need to bug me.
I keep
'cause-
forgetting, dude. I keep
Yeah,
forgetting. We're not in love anymore. I don't know. I'm sorry.
we've already hit the ground running with getting material for album number 2 for Sage.
Yeah.
So for the last few weeks or so, we've been bringing bringing our new rhythm guitarist Kyron up to speed on stuff, and it's sounding good. It's sounding real good having that extra
I like
guitar
that,
there.
and also I like that Kyron had already like followed me on all the socials and stuff, and it made me feel like I'm important to the band. Like, oh, he's like, I gotta follow Old Head. I'm like, great, thanks.
Yeah, it's a good feeling. The dude's super hardworking, and he just kicks ass. It's brilliant.
Nice.
It's almost like we have a Jason Newsted, but we're treating him properly. So we've hired him on. He loved.
Hey,
album.
have you heard Injustice for Jason? Get fucked.
What is it? Like I was saying, where I was headed with that is having written songs myself, and the opening riff to the song Hades Harp from Blinded, the Sage album that we've done.
Yeah.
That first riff was me. I wrote that, and then I gave it to Callum because I was like, Callum, I've written a riff. I've got nowhere to fucking put it. Take this. He came back like a day later. He said, I did a thing. And like the other 6 minutes were his. And it's surprising what someone can do with something. And all the metal kids love that song.
Yeah. And there are people obviously that write on their own for their entire career and they still put out amazing shit. But like most songwriters are not like that. Most songwriters need other people to bounce things off of or to inspire them. And that's just like a natural thing. And so it's like if you have people that are professional songwriters, I would be interested to be like, hey, well, what can you do with me? What could I do with this person? So that would be interesting. And even if it doesn't produce an album that's a big fucking hit, I feel like it would be a fun experiment either way.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Either way, Hot in the Shade has moved up a space.
Nice.
And the other album at 16 has also moved a space. Overall, a positive space.
Yeah. My number 16 was Hot in the Shade, but as we saw, that moved way down. This is another kind of a hot take because this one has gone down 9 spaces.
Shit, dude.
And this is the same thing where I really started to pick apart the songs on it, the albums that are around it, and how I feel about everything as a whole. My number 9 is now Dressed to Kill. Not number 9, my number 16. Sorry, my number 16 has gone down 9 spaces, and that's Dressed to Kill.
Woo.
That being said, absolutely love this album.
It's a strong 16.
It's a very strong 16, but once again, the production's a little thin, and there are songs on it that are not as strong, but at the same time, it's the same thing I was saying with Rock and Roll Over. There are a few songs on it that are like some of my favorite Kiss songs, but am I just focusing on those? I just think that like we're all guilty of it. And I think some people way more than others that sometimes you focus on some particular thing about an album and that totally blinds you to like everything else. And it's like, it's just like fucking today on my Facebook page, I had somebody comment that that the people like, because I posted about Pantera Great Southern Trendkill, and I just don't really. I don't think that's I don't like that album that much. I like some of it, but not much, not most of it. And somebody commented and said, if you're into the old Pantera, then you're not going to like this. But if you're into Alice in Chains Dirt, you're going to get it. And I'm like, Alice in Chains Dirt. And so immediately I go, this guy literally thinks that Floods is the whole album. And I think, but there are people that are like that. The same people that are like, they'll hold up some Judas Priest album and be like, this album is nothing but good shit. I'm all like, are you focusing on just one track? Because later on, there's some shit that isn't metal at all and is, by all accounts, wouldn't be a good song. But people focus on these little things about these albums that they love. And I'm just like, sometimes that's why I think doing a show like this for us is really positive, because it really does give a bigger picture of like, what do I love about this album? Why do I love it? Is it really that good, or is it just a personal thing, or is it just a few songs that I really like? And so Dress to Kill ends up getting knocked down because I'm like, yeah, it's got some amazing songs. It's got their most iconic song ever. Although if you've been paying attention in the world of TikTok and whatnot, I think their most iconic song is now "I Was Made for Loving You."
I've definitely seen there's been a rise of that song.
Isn't that funny?
Over.
That's become a big thing, because that song fucking rules. Let's be fair. But yeah, Dress to Kill, I love She and Love Her All I Can. Love, those are just fucking amazing songs. But there's also Room Service, which is fine. But it's just they're it's a fun rock album, but I feel like they did so much better around that time than this. And you can kind of tell that it was they kind of rushed to put out another album because they were just trying to make their mark. And like, well, let's that last album didn't do that great. Let's go ahead and we got some more songs. Boom, let's throw them out. Let's throw out another album. And I sometimes that makes some really great albums, but other times with Dress to Kill, I feel like it's good, but they did a lot better. So number 16 is Dressed to Kill.
Cool. Well, my number 15, my old 15 was Animalize. And now it is Lick It Up.
Nice. Okay.
And Lick It Up moved down.
Oh.
Lick It Up moved down 6 spaces, but that is because I've grown an appreciation for several albums that I feel like now were criminally low with repeated listens.
Yeah.
So, simply put, where are we at? This album is iconic in a sense of, you only have to look at the album cover to realize that they wanted the focus to be on, we don't have makeup on anymore, because there is nothing but them in there.
It's a pretty iconic album cover for me. Like, yeah. I love the way that it looks, and I love that they fucked it up though by naming a different album Unmasked, because it would have been so much better if this one was called Unmasked. But whatever. They used up that title for a joke. Yeah. Just like, look, we take our masks off and we still got masks under the masks. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, I suppose though the jury was out at that point as to whether or not Kiss were going to keep being a thing, because fucking Peter Criss was checked out on all things, but by that point, and Ace was becoming more of a liability to the band at the time.
Yeah.
But I gotta say, man, like, Vinnie Vincent is all over this album, and in stark contrast to Mark St. John, Vinnie Vincent has a certain personality and to his playing that stands out. There's like licks specific to Vinnie Vincent that when I hear him, I'm like, that's that guy.
Yeah.
And there's like a like
this is kind of
dramatic sort of thing.
Yeah, kind of related, but I I've realized, you know how some people are like, oh, I can't listen to that death metal stuff. It just sounds like a whole bunch of noise and it makes my head hurt. Do you know what album gives me that vibe? The first Vinnie Vincent Invasion album. Every time I listen to that album, by the time it's halfway through, I have a headache.
Wow.
I feel like I've done too much cocaine. And like, I literally am just like, this is like so much, not just from Vinnie Vincent, but from the vocalists. Like everything is so, it's like it's like an entire album of just,
it's sex shooter heart teaser.
it's just so, and then the album ends with some fucking just noise.
Yeah.
And it just a repeating noise, guitar noise. And I'm just like, it's just like, that is how I imagine most people hear when they hear like death metal or grindcore. They're just like, it just sounds like a bunch of noise.
You know, I remember hearing something about the room the guitars were amped to on that first Vinnie Vincent album. Were so loud it hurt to be in the room.
Yeah.
Like it was physically painful to be near it, and I believe it with that album, man. Yeah.
I like that album, but it is a rough listen for me. It hits some kind of frequency in my head that just rattles my fucking brain. So
I gotta come out and say that, like, I'm gonna say this now. Is Boys Are Gonna Rock the greatest 80s music video of all time?
yeah, it's fucking amazing.
It's so yeah.
The first time I saw that video, I already was laughing at the breakaway cymbals, and that was before there was a guy on fire. Oh, not only that, the drummer has rear crash cymbals. So at one point he's like behind him. And I'm like, that whole video is like ultimate 80s excess. Although there aren't any, there aren't any women in that video. Well, I guess it is called Boys Are Gonna Rock. But
yeah.
But it is
Boys Club.
But just like everything about it, from like him licking his guitar, him throwing it into an amp, everything just going to chaos at the end of it. And then just random guy on fire. That's why I'm always like, hey, Metallica kind of took that idea and put it in their stage show in the 90s. Random guy on fire.
Doesn't Bobby Rock, the drummer, explode at one point? Like, I'm pretty sure there's something, I can't remember. Like, there's like a full-on, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't remember him blowing up.
So much happens in that video in such a short space of time.
We could literally do an entire episode just breaking down that video. In fact, we should, really. But
that would be incredible if we could do that. But like the thing that really strikes me in terms of the whole Vinnie Vincent sound is that there's like kind of a fucked upness to it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, it's not your average. It kind of sits somewhere between the herky-jerky riffage of Ace Frehley and the shred of Mark St. John, to the point where it does have like this gnarliness to it that gives it enough of its own feel.
Yeah.
But, you know, still has a little bit of that shred vibe. And what was it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 of the album's 10 tracks have Vinnie Vincent as a writer.
Yeah.
And this is one of the most evenly split Kiss albums in terms of vocals. 5 of the tracks are Paul, and 5 of the tracks are Gene.
Yeah.
And Gene's still kind of firing on all cylinders on this one. Not for the Innocent, Young and Wasted. I gotta say, my favorite song on this album at this point is A Million to One.
Interesting.
It is just this montage song of Paul Stanley bragging about being the best fuck in the world.
Well, it's like also the sound of that song though. If it's a montage song, it's the montage song that plays right after, like the midway through the movie where the hero has been defeated. Yeah, and he's trying to rise back up.
Yeah.
So it's like he's at his lowest, And then you
Yeah.
hear A1,000,000 starts playing.
1,000,000 to 1 is what it will be. 1,000,000 to 1, there's no one better than me. 1,000,000 to 1, you never will find. 1,000,000 to 1, a better cock than mine. That's what I sing along to it. That's what I sing. But you know,
Yeah.
you know, there's something incredible about Kiss's music, and this is something I learned from Pod of Thunder, is you can replace the word love with cock or dick at any moment in most Kiss songs, and it
Yeah.
will work.
Yeah.
Plasticaster is a blast to,
Yeah.
you know. Plaster's getting harder.
I'm gonna go on record.
Dick is perfection.
I'm gonna go on record and say that referring to your penis as love is really creepy.
But these guys made a career out of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
But simply put, you want to know something crazy about the Lick It Up video as well?
Yeah.
This is how fucked up like this neighborhood they were in was. You know, I think it's somewhere in the Bronx or some shit. All they brought to that set was the skulls. like the place was that fucking burned out that you know it looked like the world had ended. Yeah, I love that. All Hell's Breaking Loose as well has the same kind of vibe to it. Also, something I noticed, the All Hell's Breaking Loose music video, not music video, guitar solo. Awesome. I love the kind of like, you know, Phrygian Egyptian sounding guitar leads. And like that could tie into the residual Ankh Warrior vibe that Vinnie Vincent very briefly had.
Yeah.
But yeah, all in all, this is where we enter the realms of solid shit, dude. I mean, there's very few holes I can poke in it.
Yeah. Are you done with Lick It Up?
Yeah, I've licked it up.
All right. My number 15 was Music from the Elder.
Okay.
Now, up 7 spots from last time. My number 15 is now Carnival of Souls. And it's just, yeah, it is one that I wrote it off a little bit because of the hey fellow grunge kids aspects of the album, but there's a lot of bangers on it and it sounds good. The performances are great. And yeah, for what they were going for, we already talked about it. For what they were going for, I think they pretty much nailed it. I don't love all the songs, but yeah, it's definitely one that the more that I've listened to it, it's the more I'm like, this is legit really good and I really enjoy it.
If it wasn't Kiss, it would be a classic.
Probably.
Yeah. It would be heralded.
It would at least be one of those albums that like a smaller amount of people hold it really in high regard for the era.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, it's just, but once again, if you're, you know, it hits kind of in the midpoint here because it's like, well, is that what you're coming to Kiss for? And you're not normally, but, but you know, my history of this show, I always talk about bands that try different things throughout their career. And when I believe that they are successful doing it, I think that just makes a really interesting album in their discography. And I often wonder what the resulting album would have been if they legitimately put it out. Because I don't think it would have had the same album cover because they wouldn't have called it The Lost Sessions. And like, what would that world have looked like? What would the album cover be? What would the ensuing music videos have been? You know, it's fascinating to me, but I'm just glad the music's out there to listen to because I really like it. So that's my number 15, Carnival of Souls.
Cool. So I'm on my number 14. We're approaching the halfway mark. This is probably going to be the longest Cranked and Ranked we've ever done.
Could be.
It's going to be up there with the San Andreas one. Speaking of, I want to do Vice City at some point. I want to
Okay.
do the Vice City radios.
We will. I'm telling you, if I have to, I'm starting to let you steer the ship most of the time, because if I start looking at all the ones we're supposed to do or we could do, I'm just like, there's still way too much that we've got on the list.
I know, dude. I'm getting excited.
It's a good problem to have. It's a
Yeah,
good problem
yeah.
to have. But yeah. Anyway, number 14.
My number 14 used to be Revenge. Shocker, that one's gone up. My new pick for number 14, to some, would also be a shocker. My number 14 is Hotter Than Hell.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, this is one of those weird ones where it's like they immediately followed up the debut, and it sounds significantly worse than the debut sonically.
Yeah.
It's got a weird sound to it, and it's become part of its charm. But if I'm being honest, I think the songs from this that are heralded have better versions on Alive. But that being said, when you got songs like Got to Choose, Parasite, Going Blind, Hotter Than Hell, Let Me Go, Rock and Roll, and that's just the first side.
Yep.
I think were this album to have the sonics of either the first album or even Dress to Kill, I think this would have climbed the ranks a little more. And I do love that, you know, there is that thing of like Peter Criss having a few songs as well. It does break up a little bit of that little thing of just the Paul and Gene show.
Yeah.
Even if Peter Criss's Stacked was the end this time. But all in all, this is one of those albums whenever I hear something from it, I think, oh, fuck yeah, dude.
Yeah.
But it's one of those that's taken time to grow on me, because its production really sets it back a little bit. And in many ways, it's cool that there's something so muddy and murky about it. Mm-hmm. But the thing that really lets it down is the snare sound for me. If I could crank this up like Master of Reality and it be a dark and murky thing, it'd be cool. But there is a snare sound on here that just makes that a bad idea. You know, there are some albums where a drum sound is make or break, and unfortunately on here it is kind of break. But
Sometimes to me, it even sounds like the snare it just got borrowed from a different album.
yeah,
It's weird.
yeah. It's like they had a perfectly good sounding drum set, and then they just copied and pasted the wrong thing in.
Yeah. All right. Let's keep it rolling.
Simply put, my old 14 was Revenge. My new is Hotter Than Hell.
Cool. My old 14 was Crazy Nights. My new 14, which dropped one spot from last time, is Lick It Up.
Okay.
And I don't have much more to add to this one than what you said. I think this is a very strong album. I think this album has come more into favor over the years because it's just a good hard rock album. And it's got great performances, great songs. It's a really enjoyable album for me. But it does run into that thing. It's the first one in a series of albums where there are those songs that feel a little bit kind of throwaway a little bit, and that hurts it, because some of the other songs are so fucking strong that I'm just like, it's not all amazing, but I love it. I don't know. I'm dealing with albums now. I'm looking at the list. I'm like, I love all of these albums so much that it's really just kind of a feeling at this point of like, yeah, Lick It Up. It sounds like a number 14 album in their discography to me, even though I still really like it. So that's my number 14. On to number 13.
Really quick, I just wanted to mention, I don't know if I mentioned this previously, when we were talking about Hot in the Shade, so many songs on that could be montage songs. Like I got to thinking about what is it? A Million to One off of Lick It Up while you were talking about Lick It Up. And there's so many songs on there. It's like Silver Spoon, King of Hearts, You Love Me to Hate You. All of those just get the fucking blood pumping. I can't believe I didn't even mention Read My Body. Read My Body has got to be one of the horniest songs ever written. You know, like the little go-go bells during that little beat.
Yeah. Read
My body. Are the letters big enough? Hell yeah. Yeah. So with that, moving on to my 13.
Uh-huh.
Cool. So funny, Hotter Than Hell had dropped a space from last time. My old 13 is Hotter Than Hell. My new 13 is Dressed to Kill.
All right.
So my appreciation for this album has grown significantly. I just think when it comes to a 30-minute burst of hard rock, I've really begun to love the drier 70s sound almost as much as the wet 80s sound, you know. I like them at an even level at this point, you know.
Yeah.
I think depending on the band and depending on what kind of songs they're going for, they both have their place. But I mean, I actually think this album's stronger material is on the back half with Come On and Love Me, She, Love Her All I Can, Rock and Roll All Night. Like, those are fucking incredible songs.
Yep.
And yeah, I actually think this album's second half is the winner in this case. It's great. Come On and Love Me, man. Like, God, dude, that is a great song. She is so good that Pearl Jam pretty much ripped an entire section of guitar solo from it for a live.
Yeah.
And this is coming from someone who absolutely loves the album 10. The first time I heard She, I was like, I was like, Mike, you cheeky bastard. Yeah, I didn't know, but having see, the thing is, the unique position I find myself in with talking about music like this and having been born after it happened by well over 20 years is that it in a cool way, it's like, even if I don't connect with a lot of modern music, which I do, there's a lot of modern music that I do like, but to always have this wealth of old stuff that I can keep pulling from is kind of comforting in a way. So when I come back to this album and I realize I like it even more, it becomes that thing of, oh, come here, you, come here. You know, I love this album now. You know, before I would have written it off as like, it felt a little rushed. It's a little light on the oomph. When in actual fact, you stick it on and it's 10 in and out rockers and it's great. Yeah.
It's everything about it is very lean. Running time, production, it's just very like,
it's a very healthy sounding album.
Yeah.
Most of the tracks, running orders start with a 2, so you know what you're in for. Oh, quick. You need to hit me with another one of those Paul Stanleys.
Every once in a while, we like to get a little wasted. We like to take a taste of alcohol.
Dude, I'm going to come right out and say it. This is one of my favorite episodes we have ever done. This is fun as shit. Yeah. Dead air, though. You got to fill that dead air.
You fucking left the band.
That one has to get played in every episode. It's never going to leave. It's never going to leave the sound, the little machine.
You know, I'm surprised we haven't got to it so far with all Vinnie Vincent talk.
Yeah,
he fucking left the band. Yeah.
Anyway, are you done with your 13? My number 13 was "Lick It Up." Now my number 13, which is also dropped 2 spots, is "Dynasty." And
Really?
yeah,
Wow.
this is another album where I discovered that there's there's things about it that I love, and I love the album all the way through, but there are some tracks where I go, yeah, these tracks are kind of like, they don't work. Like Save Your Love. There's a couple songs where I just go, they don't really work for me in the same way that other ones do. Sure Know Something is one of my favorite Kiss songs. And, and I like Hard Times. I really like everything about the album. And I think the album is very underrated. Or not necessarily underrated, it's overhated. Like people call it the disco album. And I'm just like, God, just shut the fuck up. And that's because it's that groupthink mentality. People don't know what they're talking about, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's got a disco song on it. That's the disco album." No.
Yeah.
But anyway, but at the same time, it's got some really strong songs. It's got some other songs that I go, I would not rate these as high. And so once we get into this sort of transitional period of the band, I start looking at like all of it and which ones really like are engaging to me and like hold my attention the whole time. And Dynasty, as much as I love it, there's a few tracks where it loses me a little bit, even though I still enjoy the vibe. So it ends up being my number 13.
Very nice, very nice. I'm gonna usher in this half of the episode by saying we are in the upper half now.
All right, we made it. Who's all still here?
Yeah, this is a big one.
That's what she said.
Nice.
All right,
We're all thinking it. This motherfucker just comes out and says it. Well, with that, I'm going to usher in an album that I completely understand critiques of. However, in all good conscience, being me, I couldn't put it any lower than the upper half. I'm going to come right out and say my number 12 is, it used to be Rock and Roll Over. It is Crazy Nights.
okay. I'm gonna say that this is too low.
And you know what? I'm looking at this now and I'm thinking you might be right. Because honestly, as far as I'm concerned, from here on in, we are in the unabashedly over the top love zone. I love everything.
Love zone.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, we are in the love zone. We need to get a soundbite of everybody get in the love zone. We need that. But yeah, simply put, Crazy Nights. Crazy Nights, I do not love any less. It is more the appreciation I have grown for the albums that have landed above it.
Yeah.
And when I looked at the track listing and I listened back through all of these albums, I thought to myself, Crazy Crazy Nights is one of the most iconic, songs of my childhood, because it's the first real taste I got of the whole hair metal thing that burrowed its way into my mind.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting that was the first one.
Yeah, well, to be honest, it was on a compilation CD, and that was a big hit in the UK, and it worked its way onto some sort of like 80s compilation. It was that and the Final Countdown and watching Karate Kid that kind of put an 80s seed in my 10-year-old mind.
Of truth. It's time on the line.
Survivor, dude. We're doing Survivor at some point. Yeah. We are gonna do Survivor. I'm hoping Survivor will happen this year because I've heard so much Survivor I like.
I really only know Survivor from movie tracks.
Dude, it's worth it.
And I'm pretty sure that the guy that sang a lot of those songs died. Like he died pretty young, I think. I don't think he's
there's two. There's
Jesus, okay. It's one of those bands.
there's Jimmy Jameson, I think, is the guy that died. Wait, Jimmy Jameson. really quick. Sorry, I know we're going on a. Yeah, Jimmy Jameson died. I don't know about. Where is it?
Well, who sang "Eye of the Tiger"?
Bear with. Fuck. What's he called? What's the first Survivor guy called?
He didn't survive. That is not a.
Dude, come on.
There's no business being in that band.
Let's have a look. Dave Bickler, that's the guy.
He sang "Eye of the Tiger"?
Yeah.
Did he sing "Moment of Truth"?
Yes, he would have been. He would have been "Moment of Truth."
Okay. And there was another Survivor song on like Rocky IV. What was
With
the
a
one on
burning heart, just about to burst.
Oh God damn!
For answers and a quench of the thirst.
God, those songs are so good. Like how like those are like perfect movie songs for that time. Like how are they doing it?
You just got that. They got that special sauce, man. Oh, actually, no. The Moment of Truth is the first song with Jimmy Jameson. So,
okay.
Moment of Truth was not, in fact, Dave Bickler. Wow, Dave Bickler was replaced that quickly? Fuck. Damn, dude. Man, I love these 80s bands where, you know, there's guys with glasses way too big for their head. Awesome. Fucking killer. Anyway,
Where were we?
yeah, we're
Crazy Nights.
Crazy Nights, number 12. Crazy Nights is great song, you know, classic. I'll Fight Hell to Hold You is the Karate Kid song that never was.
Yeah.
This is a montage song, and this is coming from the montage music aficionado over here.
Is there a song on this album that isn't a montage song? They all seem like they could be somewhere in a movie.
They all have the 80s movie vibe.
Yeah.
But few tap into that adrenaline pumping fucking fever that these types of songs whip me into. Bang Bang You is just like Kiss at their least subtle.
Down with my love gun, baby.
Yeah, it's good fun. That's a Desmond Child co-write. No.
Wow.
Yeah.
I remember the first time I heard that song when I was a kid, and you hear that little guitar intro to it, and I was like, "Whoa, who the fuck is this guy?"
Yeah, Bruce fucking Kulick, man. Yeah, Hell or High Water, badass song. Now I'm gonna come out and say it, and Kiss purists, feel free to rip my head off. I fucking love My Way.
Yeah. It's a complete cheese fest.
Yeah.
But it's great.
If you are gonna come out and do a song that has the line, I want to get this right. My Way, Kiss.
Also, at this point, what the fuck is a Kiss purist?
Yeah, because you know, dude, this song lists off every single montage line you would ever need. Here we go. Here in the danger zone.
Oh, okay.
It's a jagged edge we climb. But if you take it like stone, stand on your own, you can make the grade in time. I'm never gonna run. I'm never gonna tell myself a lie. 'Cause after it's all said and done, I won't be wondering where. And I'll know that under the gun, I am the one who's got the right to decide. I'm gonna talk like I talk, walk like I walk my way. Fuck yeah.
I'm doing the keyboards over here.
Fucking, I saw it and I wholeheartedly appreciate it because that is killer.
Yeah, that's yeah.
We're not even
very cheesy.
Yeah.
But yes.
We're not even on to When Your Walls Come Down, Reason to Live. Reason to Live. I'm gonna come out.
I love that song.
I'm gonna come right out and say it back to back on 2 albums each. Kiss put out, in my opinion, two of the best power ballads of all time. Like, I'm going to come around and say top 10, Forever and Reason to Live.
Reason to Live should be in the conversation a lot more. It's not. I know Forever sometimes is, but Reason to Live is up there.
Out of time, there's nobody around. All I hear is the sound. Fucking awesome. Yeah.
Yeah. There's something. There's this certain type of 80s ballad that has this certain feel to it. It's the atmosphere, dude. I'll put Is This Love by Whitesnake on there too. Yeah. It's not super slow. It's just a slower tempo, but it has like a real smooth thing going on that it really connects with me, where I just love the sound of it.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Walking down a neon lit street thinking about how the case has gone bad, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, doesn't Is This Love have a sax solo in it too? Is there saxophone solo, I believe?
There's a really tasteful guitar solo in it.
Why am I hearing a saxophone in that song?
Because one totally belongs there and they forgot to put it in.
I mean, I love that song, but like it sounds like there should be one.
I mean, to be fair, you know, and this is a credit to John Sparxx, you know, rest in peace as of this year. Something that I'm going to draw a parallel to. If you can't play it on a saxophone, it's probably not a memorable guitar solo.
Interesting.
I think if you,
I'm not gonna back you on that.
I don't necessarily think that it's a blanket thing, but in the context of a power ballad,
tell that to Kerry King.
I'm awaiting the Michael Bolton collab with that guy.
Where are we?
Blessed angel of death, flying free. Can we take a minute to appreciate that? Was a really good falsetto run from me.
That was pretty good. Yeah,
that was some Michael McDonald energy going on there. The word hero gets thrown around a lot these days. Anyway, I'm camping out in Crazy Nights Land a little too long, so I'm gonna wrap this up. Good Girl Gone Bad. You know, Gene is starting to sound a little bit more involved on here. You know, I think he was at his least involved on Animalize. It improved slightly with Asylum and gradually again. But, dude, Turn on the Night. The thing that I love, Turn on the Night, and the thing that I love about this, the audacity of this album, is so 1987 to just come out and have a song called Turn on the Night and Thief in the Night back to back.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
We both need an In the Night song, you know. Russ Ballard did a good one with that, and Ace copied him and did it on his album this year, so let's fucking do it.
I mean, everything feels more rock and roll in the night anyway.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, cranked and ranked in the night.
In the night, yeah.
Yeah, in the night.
Oh, can I go now?
You may go. You may do your thing.
My number 12. This is another one where it didn't move. Last time my number 12 was Unmasked, and now my number 12 is still Unmasked. This is the one album that I really feel like it doesn't get the respect it deserves, because
I wholeheartedly agree.
I think I love every song on this album. Like every song to me, even though this is, at the time, it feels very not Kiss in a lot of the songs, even more so than Dynasty. But yeah, there's just so many like different flavors on this. From, you know, a nice little pop tune like Shandy, and then you have kind of a quirky rock tune like Torpedo Girl, and like all these, it's like all these different flavors that kind of really go together for this time period. And I I really enjoy this album. I think it sounds good. It's got a cool kind of, late 70s, early 80s, production vibe going on. And I think it's got a lot of great songs. The only thing that I could say that keeps it from being higher is the fact that I could understand the argument that this isn't what people want from Kiss. That's it. That's literally the only argument I can see against Unmasked, because I just think it's a great album. So it's still my number 12.
Well, I can jump right off of that because my 11 used to be Creatures of the Night and it is now Unmasked.
Sweet.
So I agree. Unmasked is not, it's not a hard rock album so much as it is a power pop album, but it is a fantastic one at that. Granted, it's not got the hard edge that Kiss became known for, and it's kind of like if you took the lighter side of Dynasty and did an incredible album with that.
Yeah.
Some
of it is like Is That You is a pretty rockin' tune in its own way. I like the swagger of that song.
I'm going to come right out and say it that I'm in complete agreement with you that when I read the track listing of this album, I can sing you every single song from the track listing. Is That You? Shandy, Talk to Me, Naked City, What Makes the World Go Round. What Makes the World Go Round should have been a hit, man.
Yeah, I like Naked City, same thing.
Yeah.
They Naked City sounds like one of those songs that plays at the beginning of a movie, like when you're establishing the setting of the movie. Naked City would play like maybe over the credits or whatever. It's
showing the dark, gritty back alley side of New York or some shit.
Yeah.
Some rags to riches story. I'm like it. What Makes the World Go Round, as far as I'm concerned, and Easy as It Seems, it should have been huge hit singles. Every time, like, my hairs stand on end whenever the keyboard comes in on Easy as It Seems. And I know so many people would find that cheesy. I don't get what everybody's fucking problem is, because that rules.
Their problem is that this isn't. Destroyer or Love Gun again.
Yeah, but like not everything has to be. Tomorrow should have been massive. Tomorrow.
Yes. Yeah,
two sides of the coin.
Two sides. Yeah, It's every track is great.
I tell you what I love in Torpedo Girl is that part where Ace goes, I don't know. I feel like it perfectly sums up his personality. Is it a dream? I don't know. How did I get here? Yeah. And like, I'm completely in agreement with you. This might be the most slept on Kiss album.
Yeah, I'm gonna.
Because there are people that don't even know it exists. People get it mixed up with Lick It Up. That's, Unmasked.
Well, people write off this whole period. Like several albums just get written off in lost in the group think, shit, where people just don't even fucking care. And I'm just like, that's fine. But just say I don't care. That's fine. You're free to not care and move on with your life.
This era of Kiss is probably the most fascinating to me because it's the first time that seemingly even they themselves are hitting a rocky period with each other.
Yeah.
But they're still putting out good shit as far as I'm concerned. At least Dynasty and Unmasked are two really strong albums. Granted, you could even make an argument that Music from the Elder has like a cult following and an appeal in that regard.
Yeah.
And the only reason it's so low on my list is because it's just simply not what I'm looking for when I go to a Kiss album.
Yeah.
I'm looking for sci-fi and tits. I'm not quite looking for oboes and medieval chainmail, but, it's still good, But even then, I think Unmasked is the most underrated Kiss album of the lot. I'm in complete agreement with you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Sweet. Let's keep this shit rolling. Number 11. My number 11 was Dynasty.
Okay.
All right. This is a big. Is this the biggest move of any album?
Shit.
This one moved up 10 spaces.
Holy
10
shit.
spaces. And I'm going to, okay. No, my number 11 is now Psycho Circus. And
Damn.
this album has grown on me so much that I feel the same way from what I was saying about Unmasked. To me, there is no bad song on this album, and I love how whatever turmoil or shit or disagreements or whatever was going on that made the album become what it is, where it's like a comeback album for the four original guys, but yet they're not all four together on it. But there's really fucking great songs on here, but also I feel like the guys themselves, especially Paul Stanley's songwriting, they're still not fully backpedaling. Because Psycho Circus doesn't sound like an old Kiss song, but it has a vibe that feels like it's a Kiss, it's a classic Kiss, but like a little bit different. And so I love the fact that they managed to put together this album that feels like a classic Kiss album while still feeling very much of its time. It doesn't sound like trying to recreate the past. Just go back to making a fun rock album. And every time I listen to it, and songs that I didn't like as much have now become favorites, like Pledge Allegiance to the State of Rock and Roll. That song, I fucking love that song. And they all of them, like maybe like We Are One might be the only one where I go, I don't love this one, but I love in the album sequencing, I love it there. But yeah, I just think that the fact that this one is not only later in their career, but also one that didn't turn out probably the way that they were intending. It's still really good. And I honestly, all I really know about the album is what I've read. And a lot of it is I read in Ace Frehley's book, because I have yet to read Paul Stanley's book. I still need to read that. But in Paul Stanley's book, do they go through Psycho Circus? Is it after that he wrote that book? Anyway, I don't know. But I don't know why it ended up that way, because it's not like, because they ended up touring as the original band for years. And so clearly they worked together well enough to stay on the road and play successful shows over and over. So, whatever it is, it's as an album, as it's presented, it's become like a later classic for me. So it ends up here. It goes up 10 spaces. Like that's like in 4 years, that album has gone way up in how I feel about it. So Psycho Circus, number 11.
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I can see it really clicking with me as well. Because when I went back through it and I listened to it, I was like, maybe not now, but maybe a few years from now, I can see myself looking at this track list and thinking, man, what the fuck is that doing down here?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's a very strong album. Didn't make the top 10, almost made the top 10.
Okay, well now it's time to talk top 10.
Top 10. I feel like I'm going hoarse.
Okay. All right. So my number 10 used to be Asylum. It is now Love Gun.
All right.
Now, Love Gun, great classic Kiss album. There's a great sound to it. There's a great track listing. The only thing I will say is that it sounds slightly not as good as Rock and Roll Over or Destroy It. There is like a lower fi, like more lo-fi production
Yeah.
to this album than the previous two. And the two previous have two completely different production styles.
Yeah.
But I think there's tracks on here that are like all-time classics for me. I Stole Your Love, Shock Me, Tomorrow and Tonight, Love Gun, Almost Human. That here's my thing. I had to really think about it, and as much as I like it as a song, Christine 16 would be so much better if it didn't have the Gene spoken part in it. And
Honestly, I don't even. That's my least favorite song on the album, and I'm including "And Then She Kissed Me." But Christine 16, just as a song, I'm not. The style of it never did it for me.
yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you. The momentum that I Stole Your Love sets is kind of lost with Christine 16. Flip it and put Got Love for Sale in that slot.
Oh shit! Yeah.
1-2 punch, dude.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I think if if Christine 16 was swapped for Shock Me, and we got I Stole Your Love, Shock Me, and then Got Love for Sale, and then Christine 16, you know, I think it would be better. Love Gun, I've seen Kiss live twice. Once was at Download Festival 2022, and the second was in Birmingham 2023. Both times they blew me away. And Love Gun, you know, he gets on that fucking flying machine thing and it sends him out across the crowd, and he gets onto the platform. That's a sight to behold. Yeah. This album, for the most part, has, you know, it's great classic Kiss. There's just a couple of songs on here that I think it could have been a tighter 8, but, you know, you're already talking about a 33 minute long album.
Yeah.
So, gotta say though, like the image of the Kiss make-upped women looking up at the band lives rent free in my mind. Because
it's my favorite Kiss album cover.
It's to me, it's just like when I die, that's what it should look like.
Are you meaning that you want a whole bunch of women that look like you staring up at you?
I mean, with bigger asses than me, but sure.
Okay, yeah. Granted, yeah.
Hell yeah.
All right.
Hey man, we're in a weird time in history. You just got to learn to love yourself.
I agree. You know what? I agree with that.
I have a hard time with it, but I won't convince myself.
Yeah, we'll get there maybe one day. My number 10 was Hotter Than Hell. Now, a one that's gone down one spot, my number 10 is Revenge. And Revenge is fucking great. I think that this is one that a lot of people are in agreement. It's one that people seem to really dig. I love the production. I love the way it sounds. A lot of great performances, jam-packed with great songs. This is another one where I don't think there's no song that I don't care for.
Yeah.
But I just, this is like, you know, the ultimate, like, of their, like, them shedding the 80s stuff and just making a rock album. This is, you know, the best that they did since the early days, really, or since, you know, probably since Creatures of the Night, making just a rock album. But even this one, there's something about it that just feels very expertly done. Songwriting wise, performance wise, everything about it just feels meticulously, like everything sounds fucking great. And I always just really enjoy when this one has a lot of nostalgia for me, because this is really the first Kiss album that once I was a Kiss fan, this one came out. Because I think when I heard, I don't remember how old I was. No, I think probably Hot in the Shade was the first one that came out after I became a fan. But this was the one that like it really holds. Like I was old enough to really appreciate it when it came out, and it really just still sounds like a cool early '90s rock album to me. And so, yeah, Revenge is great. So but it did go down one spot though, because there's some other ones that kind of moved around. So my number 10 is now Revenge.
Yeah, I don't know what the fuck I was thinking when I put it at 14. I like genuinely, I look back at that now and I think, where the fuck was I at when I put Revenge at 14? But yeah, with that, my number 9. What number 9?
Number 9?
Number 9. We've got my old number 9 was Lick It Up. My new number 9 is Asylum.
Okay, cool.
Now, I think Asylum is the much stronger sister album to Animalize. I think this was probably the peak of, at least visually, their hair metalness. Sonically, it happened on Crazy Nights, but I think visually, and this, when I think of glam metal Kiss, this is the album I think of. You know, they hadn't quite got to montage mode yet, but they were certainly drenched in Aquanet, doing the Sunset Strip thing. And I think it's a very underrated album. I think it tends to get lost in the shuffle a little bit. But I mean, when you've got a song like Who Wants to Be Lonely with a video like Who Wants to Be Lonely, as far as I'm concerned, this song 80'd its way into my heart and is firmly planted there. Not to mention Tears Have Fallen and All Night. But there's something I noticed about these two albums back to back is that Animalize and Asylum both kind of open with speed metal songs. King of the Mountain and I've Had Enough, Into the Fire, certainly paint. We're also tapped into this.
Yeah.
You know, kind of thing. You know, it's like they were paying attention to It's like they were paying attention to everything that was going on. Sorry to burp there, cut me off. But like there are several moments on this album. Most notably, there is a back-to-back fucking speed metal extravaganza when you get to I'm Alive and immediately follow it up with Love's a Deadly Weapon. Like, poor Eric Carr doesn't get a rest. It's like, really? I just did double kick for the whole of the last song and you want me to do it again?
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, but it's see, that's a member that I think, you know, people should, you know, heap more praise on. I think Eric Carr. I
just think it's been too long since he passed, and he unfortunately was there in the '80s era. But
and on top of that, he died on the exact same day as Freddie Mercury died.
Oh yeah.
Arguably the most overshadowed death in rock history.
Yeah, I'm
going to come out and say it.
Eric Carr was great. He was great in that band, a great drummer. Yeah. And by all accounts, a great guy also. So
yeah, so shit how he went out. Like
yeah. I mean it's a bitch. You know, I don't know. It's just one of those things where some people get taken out early, and yeah, it's unfortunately.
Yeah, this to me is the album Animalize should have been, you know. I think if Animalize was a bit stronger, I think the opinion on 80s Kiss might be a little bit more positive. I mean, of course, you're always going to have your 70s purists who are like, you know, anything with any gated reverb on it is shit. But, you know, as far as I'm concerned, you know, when you've got songs like King of the Mountain, Who Wants to Be Lonely, I'm even going to say Any Way You Slice It is a fun song. Trial by Fire. See, this is the thing. Tears Are Falling, man. Dude. Like, don't get me wrong, these albums are a Stanley showcase, but, yeah. He has his moments. Yeah. Definitely got a huge appreciation for this album. And I also want to highlight as well the I don't know if you've ever noticed, but the lip colors on the album cover to Asylum match the solo albums. Don't know if you noticed that.
No, but
Yeah, Paul's are purple, Gene's are red, Bruce Kulick is blue, and Eric Carr is green. You know, albeit them being
different.
not the guys.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
still a pretty cool reference though.
yeah,
And,
yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, which album cover do you think is the most 80s? Because it's between these three. It's Animalize, Asylum, and Crazy Nights. And honestly, I think it might be Asylum.
I mean, it's Animalized for me. If you're talking about it seeming very 80s,
Yeah, but that's just Animal Prints layered.
but the Crazy Nights album cover is legit one of my favorite album covers ever.
Yeah, that one
So-
rules.
But that's a different, yeah. That's for different reasons. It's like it's not because it's not. I would because like for pure Kiss album covers, Love Gun is probably my favorite. But
Yeah.
there's something about Crazy Nights that I don't know what it is about it. I love the layout of it and everything.
I'm gonna come right out and say it. I think Crazy Nights might have the best rear cover of all time. Because it's got Gene in you know he's all dressed up. He's got like the shagged out 80s hair and a leather jacket and a big white bass. But right next to him is the sex symbol himself, Paul Stanley, with a visible teal thong. It's just such it's insane. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Like there is just such a I love that. the album packaging of Crazy Nights is second to none as
Yeah.
far as I'm concerned. Yeah.
Okay, we still
like
move.
you.
We still moving. I think we're quickly approaching the 3-hour mark on this one. So
Yeah.
let's
Yeah.
plow ahead.
Fuck it, man. Let's do it.
My number 9 was Revenge. It went down one spot, and this one went up 6 places because I'm not even going to argue it anymore. This album is fucking amazing. My number 9 is Music from the Elder,
Okay.
and this is another one that the more that I listen to it, the more that I'm like, there's no part of this album that I don't like. This to me, as much as you can listen to it and go, well, if you're wanting another Destroyer, you didn't get it here. But all of the things that Kiss were doing, you know, as they were moving along, you know, the live album, and then doing a kind of a bigger, grander album with fucking Destroyer, and then a little bit later they end up doing like the solo albums, which is kind of a unique idea, and then they try to do, you know, a movie and all of this stuff, and Music from the Elder feels like it's a given that Kiss should have done an album like this at some point. Like it makes perfect sense to me. And then when I listen to it, the more I'm just like, I would rather any fucking day of the week, I would rather listen to Music from the Elder than Tommy. Fuck that. You know, like there are so many like quote unquote rock opera type albums. Now it's not, we're removing Pink Floyd The Wall from the discussion because that's one of the most perfect albums of that type. But Music from the Elder, to me, is way better than a whole bunch of them. And mostly it's because it's not too fucking long. It really is a little journey. What, it was like a 35-minute album, maybe 40 minutes? It's not very long. But it just hits all these different marks where it feels to me, it feels cinematic. And every part of it, I'm just like, I just love the vibe of it. I love the songs. Some of the songs just get better to me the more that I hear them. And so I really hold it up as like, yeah, they really were just like, well, you know, we're kind of in a weird space. Let's just do something big and grand. Why don't we do a concept album? And they did. And just like with Carnival of Souls, in my opinion, what they were going for, they were successful doing it. It just so happened that they were Kiss. And so it's not given any of the respect that it normally would have gotten. And maybe it was a little too late. Maybe if it was a couple years earlier, the listening public would have been more into it. I don't fucking know. But I just think it's great. The more I listen to it, the more I'm just like, I don't understand. I understand not liking the album, calling it one of the worst albums. That is literally just you might as well just write yourself off as somebody that I'm not going to listen to about music ever again. Because I love it. Honestly, when it comes to just Kiss albums that I just love, it should be higher than 9. but it ends up at number 9 because I try to be a little bit fair with certain things, but also give respect and attention to things that I think deserve it. And music from the Elder is one of those. So that's my number 9.
Yeah, but by no means do I hate it either. You know, this is a case of I enjoy everything here to some extent, and it has gone up for me. And with time, I think this, and honestly, having experienced your ranking, I am considering just doing a back-to-back playlist of music from the Elder and Psycho Circus and just put them on loop.
All I would say is it was one of these nights like this where maybe you don't have anything going on the next day and you can get a little bit buzzed. Let the buzz kind of kick in and then put on music from the Elder and crank it and just like, because you know what you're getting into, and once as you're going through it, you're going to be like, I mean, I literally like. I just smiled like an idiot all the way through this album. Yeah.
It's a fun album. Like, absolutely. One thing that has been stuck in my head all week is loneliness will hold you, will you sacrifice? It is cool to hear them doing something so different. One thing that does make me laugh is the visuals of Kiss during this time.
Oh,
the sensibly cropped hair and the purple headband on Paul, and
looks like he's about to drop a fitness video.
The thing that does crack me up though is like I just imagine being Eric Carr in this scenario, where he thinks he's going to end up in, you know, Rock and Roll All Night Land, and he shows up and this is the first album he's on. Like, you'd be a little bit confused, right? Like, if you were Eric Carr, you'd be like, I would imagine it's kind of like Matt Sorum coming in to join Guns N' Roses and finding a grand piano set up and being like, what the fuck's going on here? I don't know. Either way,
he's like, I just got off of playing Firewoman. What am I doing here?
Oh man. So we are in. Is this the top third?
Sure.
Yeah, I think we're in the upper 33.33 recurring.
That's a major
percentile.
Math is beyond me at this point.
Yeah. Me too. To be honest, I'm. That's about my extent.
Number 8.
My number 8 is. But my old number 8 was Dynasty. Now this is kind of a shocker, but the two remain next to each other. But I have found something shocking about myself. Not shocking, just it's just something shocking. I'm actually a woman. No, it's something has flipped, and I'm gonna let you in on it. My number 8 used to be Dynasty. It is now Ace Frehley.
Okay, that's interesting. Now I think I know what you mean by something is flipped. Mm-hmm. So yeah.
So there is no denying that Ace Frehley's solo album is the hardest rocking. but is it my favorite? That has changed. So, not to give any spoilers, but they were right next to each other last time, and they're right next to each other again. But I've been giving it some thought, and I've really, really, really gotten into the Paul Stanley side of Kiss. And Paul Stanley's solo album has ultimately overtaken by a hair the Ace Frehley solo album. But my number 8 being the Ace Frehley solo album. I mean, dude, the other guys in Kiss thought he was going to embarrass himself, and he dropped the hardest rocking solo album of the bunch.
Yeah.
And ultimately gained the respect of every 70s rock fan who had previously written him off as the guy who doesn't sing. Truly is a triumph that this album came out and was this good. Yeah. I mean, we talked about last episode. Where was Ace Frehley last time? It was in my top 4. It was my number 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's killer stuff. And I love Ace, and I still love Ace. But there is just, since really digging into the Kiss discography and just really, really, really digging in, there is just something about that Paul Stanley solo album that it just draws me in. It draws me back every time.
Yeah.
So with that, that's literally pretty much all I have to say. The Ace Frehley solo album fucking rocks from start to end.
I'll talk more about it later, but funny enough, my number 8 used to be Paul Stanley, and now it's Paul Stanley. It's his album has not moved from my number 8 spot.
Okay, cool.
I sang the last time we did this ranking, I sang the praises of this album, and it's silly because to me it's like Ace Frehley and Paul Stanley's albums are of such a high quality that there's a huge gap in quality for me between the other two. Like, it's just insane. And Paul Stanley's is the one that feels more like a Kiss album. But I think it's probably because Paul Stanley, vocally speaking, has the biggest personality out of Kiss. And so you hear Paul Stanley's voice, it sounds like a Kiss album. So, but I love the Paul Stanley solo album, and I think some of the songs should have been massive hits. And I'll probably say I'm gonna throw it over to you, because then you say this is your number 7.
This is my number 7.
Because I love it. I love everything about it. But I kind of want to have the discussion with you once you go into your Paul Stanley solo album one. So we'll move on to number 7.
Cool. So my number 7 used to be Love Gun. It is now Paul Stanley.
Okay.
Now Paul Stanley, it has moved down from number 5, but it has become my favorite of the solo albums. And part of that comes from, I think ultimately Ace was really good at the hard rock song. But I think Paul Stanley is such a versatile vocalist that he can do any type of Kiss song and nail it.
Yeah.
And honestly, this album feels the most like a Kiss album to my ears. I mean, even here, reception, the album reached number 40 on the US Billboard album chart. AllMusic gave the album 3 stars out of 5. Frankly, it should be a 5 out of 5.
At least a 4. Come on, let's be fair.
And said that it is the most Kiss-like out of all the Kiss solo albums. And honestly, I just, Tonight You Belong to Me, Move On, Ain't Quite Right, Wouldn't You Like to Know Me? I'm going to come right out and say it. Wouldn't You Like to Know Me should be a massive 70s rock hit.
Yep, I agree.
I think Tonight You Belong to Me should be. I think Love in Chains and It's Alright should be as well.
Yeah.
Hold Me, Touch Me, Think of Me When We're Apart is, probably the biggest departure But even then, like, I believe it coming from Paul because
Yeah.
he's always been in touch with the sensitive side of things. And I mean, ultimately, I'm looking at the fucking review scores on here, and I'm disgusted by what I see. Pitchfork 2 out of 10, Spin Alternative Record Guide 1 out of 10, Uncut 1 out of 10,
Yeah.
All Music 3 out of 5, Collector's Guide to Heavy Metal 6 out of 10. Shut the fuck up, guys. This is a fucking 8 at least. Like,
I'm telling you,
God.
reading those reviews is mostly going to be a fool's errand, because it's like most of those people went into it not wanting to like it. So, or having a very narrow view of what they wanted the Kiss thing to be, which is, unfortunately, it's a large amount of rock and metal fans. They have a very narrow view of what they'll accept.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. Simply put, though, I think this is a fantastic album. I think this, to my ear, is the most complete and the most Kiss-like of the Kiss solo albums. I can if someone has Ace Frehley above it, I get it because it is harder rocking and
Me.
yeah, and I love Ace.
Yeah.
It is. I completely. It is the only release out of the 4 Kiss solo albums to feature all original songs, as Simmons, Chris, and Frehley each recorded one cover song on their albums. So that's a fun little anecdote. So
Yeah.
Paul is just flexing at this point. Granted, however, everybody else did a 10-track plus album and he did a 9, but it came in at a crisp 35 minutes and 10 seconds, which you got to respect for this style.
Yep.
And simply put, my respect for Paul Stanley has gone through the roof as of getting really into Kiss.
I love that. All right, number 7. My number 7 used to be Dress to Kill, and now an album that has moved up 7 spaces to the number 7 spot is Crazy Nights.
Nice.
I used to view this album a little differently, and I think that part of my opinion was a little clouded by the history of Kiss and the way that not only fans talk about Kiss albums, but Kiss themselves talk about Kiss albums. But it's one of those that now the every time I listen to it, it's one of my favorite albums of the 80s, honestly. And I wouldn't change a thing about it. I love all the songs. I love the artwork. I love the way it sounds. And all of those things, like, why would I put it lower? Like, that doesn't make any sense. And so I think that it's because I had to warm up to the more of the cheesy qualities of it over the years. But now I'm at the point now where I'm just like, I once again, there was a vibe that they were going for, and they nailed that vibe. And
Yeah.
and I just, this was the first full Kiss album I ever heard back in, I was probably 10 when I heard this one, I think. And so it has a special place for me, but even on top of that, it's grown as just an album that I put on, and I always have a good time, and I don't want to skip any tracks. There's no track that loses me. It's just, I think it's great.
Yeah.
The only thing it's competing with now are albums that I think are just absolute undeniable fucking classic albums. So it kind of ends up here at the number 7 spot. Crazy Nights.
Cool. Well, that brings me to
Number 6.
number 6. Number 6. My number 6 used to be, excuse me, Unmasked. Mm-hmm. It is now Revenge.
All right.
Revenge has moved a whole 8 spaces, I believe. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes. So Revenge. This is a badass hard rock heavy metal album. This is just the 80s era has come to an end, and you know, the stadium rock thing is still big. It's not been completely squished out,
No.
but they've definitely got a harder edge to them again. And this is the hardest rocking album since Creatures of the Night. There was definitely a lightening of the chunkage, if so to speak.
Yeah.
If we're talking from Creatures through Crazy Nights, you got a little rootsier again on Hot in the Shade, but man, Revenge, just the planets aligned, man. There's co-writes from Vinnie Vincent. There's fucking Bob Ezrin doing the producing. Kane Roberts was involved in Take It Off. Holy shit. Russ Ballard, yeah, well, I mean, I suppose that's the rock, God Gave Rock and Roll to You too. Domino, Heart of Chrome, Every Time I Look at You, I Just Wanna. Oh, Tough Love, Spit. I mean, come on, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's a Kiss set list in itself. Like, looking at this, if they walked on and played only this album, I'd come away feeling good.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, holy shit. And just further proof that Bruce Kulick is the fucking man, dude. Like, honestly, I love Bruce Kulick and Ace Frehley at an equal keel at this point.
I like him for very different reasons.
Yeah,
Ace, I've always liked Ace Frehley because he seems more like an everyday guy who's pretty good at guitar. He just has his own style. He fucks up. He fucks it up. But whereas Bruce Kulick is more of like, I look up to him as a guitar player. Like, I'm just like, that guy fucking rules as a guitar player.
Yeah. And I like Bruce because he plays what's appropriate for the song. He's a serve the song player. He has the capacity to absolutely rip, but he serves the song.
I still don't understand why, and no disrespect to Tommy, but I don't understand why he didn't rejoin once they went back to the makeupless guys. You know, but putting on the makeup. I'm assuming maybe he didn't want to. I don't know. Because he never had to wear any makeup, so maybe he flat out didn't want to do it. He's like, "Oh, I don't want to do the makeup thing. Thanks, guys. You know, I don't want to play. I don't want to play Ace Frehley. You know,
maybe I don't know. Someone we haven't really talked about yet is Eric Singer.
Eric Singer, also a great drummer.
This is a really good opportunity to talk about Eric Singer. Eric Singer comes in. Just a great drummer. I've seen him live 2 times.
Isn't it interesting that Eric Singer is the guy it's been their drummer for the longest, but he's only played on like 4 albums?
Yeah. Wild. And one of those albums wasn't even meant to be heard.
Yeah.
I like him. I think he's cool as shit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, I honestly, for a while there, I was one of those people that I had a problem with them putting the makeup back on with 2 other guys. It kind of bothered me, but eventually I got to the point where I was like, who the fuck cares? It's Kiss. They're doing their thing. These guys are, you know, part of the show. Okay, whatever, you know.
You know what I would have loved is if Eric Singer came out wearing the Fox makeup one time and nobody addressed it.
Yeah.
Like that would have been kind of cool. Or even crazier. Tommy Thayer comes out as the Unk Warrior and just like nobody addresses it.
Yeah.
So what the fuck? Yeah. Either way, not Unmash. Revenge. Awesome.
Revenge.
Yes.
It's like that scene at the end of A Fish Called Wanda where Kevin Kline runs over Michael Palin with a fucking, whatever you call it, a steamroller.
Dude, I need to catch up big time on movies, dude. Like
No, it's the other way around. Michael Palin's driving the steamroller. He drives over Kevin Kline. Yes, there you go. Sorry. Anyway, I'm sorry. I don't know why my brain went there.
No, dude.
Where are we now? Fucking shit.
We are at number
6.
I'm at number
My number 6. My number 6 used to be Creatures of the Night. And now an album that has moved up 4 spots. My number 6 is now Hotter Than Hell. And this is one where I had to get over myself when it came to the production because I don't like the production. But now I think I know what it doesn't bother me as much. But as I've been doing with this ranking, I've been also looking at the songs, and this album is fucking stacked. And something that I really like about this album is some of the songs are kind of unique for what Kiss was doing. If you listen to the debut album and you listen to Dress to Kill Forward, there are some songs on Hotter Than Hell that are kind of pretty dark sounding for what Kiss would be known for. And I almost feel like the production actually helps that a little bit in making this seem like this is some sort of an album that wasn't supposed to be heard, almost like what Carnival of Souls would have been. This is one where it's like it was like kind of passed to you in the back alley, like, here, I got Hotter Than Hell, listen to this one, and it's like, so it sounds a little bit dangerous, I guess. I don't know, but I just think it's an album where the more I really thought about it, I'm like, I love that. I don't really understand why they produced it the way they did. Some of the songs are very unique. The album cover, what the fuck's going on there? But I just love the whole thing. Just makes me go, I really like this little oddity from the early days of Kiss, and then you have some full on classics on there as well. And so, it's moved up for me just because I have a more of a respect for it, and I've learned that it is one that no matter when I put it on, I always enjoy it all the way through. So Hotter Than Hell ends up being my number 6.
Cool. Yeah, that's an album for me that just keeps growing on me.
Uh-huh.
And I have always looked at the album cover to try and like what is going on? There's
what were they thinking?
Yeah. It's one of the coolest album covers they've got, though. That's the weird thing. It's like, huh? But also cool.
Yeah.
Kind of spins me out every time I look at it. But yeah, with that,
Number 5.
Number 5. So my number 5 used to be Paul Stanley. It is now Dynasty.
All right, sweet.
Or Dynasty, as I called it before.
Is that how they pronounce it over in the England?
Yes, but
Dynasty. That sounds like a show about a dentist.
Fuck's sake, dude.
Dentistry.
See, again with these fucking review scores. Every time I scroll past the review scores, it pisses me off.
Don't just ignore those.
Yeah, I know, but it's just like,
I'm willing to bet most of those reviews were done years ago when it was cool to just disrespect Kiss in general.
Yeah, it's just, people, why is everyone so fucking stupid? Do you remember that scene from Team America where Kim Jong-il is like, yeah. I'm so lonely.
Matt Damon.
Surprise, cockfucks. Right. Right, where is it? Where are we at? I was made for loving you.
Baby, you were made for loving
Mic
me.
drop. 2000 Man Rolling Stones cover. Sure Know Something should have been a massive hit, dude.
It was a moderate hit, wasn't it? I seem to think
It should
was.
have been. It should have been even huger. I don't care how big it was. It should be a staple.
Yeah.
It should be.
Yeah.
It should be played every day, everywhere. Dirty Living is a great.
You can hear Sure Know Something on Old Head Radio. Go to oldheadnetwork.com and you can click on the thing to download the app and hear 24 hours of Old Head approved bangers, including songs from an album like Dynasty.
Boom. that was genuinely impressive.
Little commercial.
Yeah, that was fucking sweet, dude. I've been having a problem recently. I don't know if it's stress or something, but I've had a real problem where I'll get like halfway through a sentence and just like stop being able to function. Yeah, I don't know. Also, I got this bump on my. But yeah, Charisma, Magic Touch, Hard Times, X-Ray Eyes, Save Your Love. Again, this is one of those where if like they played out, if they came out and played this like cover to cover, I'd be happy. You know, there's so many good songs. Hard Times is crazy underrated as a Kiss song. I love that. That track.
Do you want to know something that's probably not? A lot of people, I think, focus on 2000 Man, but I don't love that. It's fine, but it in this particular album, that's one of the songs where I'm like, could have put something else there because it's fine. It's a fine cover, but for some reason, it just never really did it for me. I don't know.
Yeah, and there's a few lyrics in there now where I'm just like, it's charmingly outdated, you know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's a Rolling Stones song, right? Is that what it?
Yeah.
Originally.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just weird hearing, you know, with a random computer, and it's like that line is like, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Charisma. I feel like a psychiatrist could have like a field day picking apart that song.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it my fortune or my fame?
Yeah. That's one of the other weak ones on that album, for my opinion.
But here's the thing: it's got a charm all its own.
It's got a charisma, if you will.
Yeah. He did the thing. Oh, yeah. Magic Touch, X-Ray Eyes. This is some good stuff. I even like Save Your Love, even if it does have a bit of a weak chorus. Save your love. Save it. Save it. Save.
But you delivered that with way more energy than they do because it's like save it. I mean, that's just lazy songwriting right there.
Seeing your face deliver that line.
Well, that's what it sounds like to me, and it just sounds like it just sounds like the song wasn't done when they were recording it, and they're like, "Look, something else needs to go after Save Your Love. What should we put? I don't know, just say save it, save it."
You know, for some weird reason, they wanted us to go beans. We said, no, we're not doing that. Oh, dude. I don't know why. Beans always makes me laugh.
Beans, like the Kurt Cobain song.
Yeah. That's probably why. I don't know. I got beans on the brain.
That's like a lyric should be in a song. Got beans on the
beans brain. On the brain.
It sounds like that's a new Insane Clown Posse song. I got
fucking
beans on
beans. How do they grow?
How do they get in the can? It's a miracle. It's one of the miracles from God.
Fucking can openers. How do they work? I've seen a few can openers in my time that left me thinking that, not gonna lie.
I've seen can openers where I'm like, why won't it work? I've had so many can openers where I'm like, what the fuck happened to this can opener? I've only used it twice, now it's useless.
Just cut everything but the can. But yeah, simply put, where am I at? Dynasty, fucking great stuff.
Sweet.
Hell
My
yeah.
my number five used to be Rock and Roll Over. That motherfucker fell off big time.
Damn.
My number five now actually dropped 4 spaces, and I'm actually okay with it. Love Gun is my number 5. Used to be a lot higher. It was my number 1 last time. But same thing. Same thing. I start picking apart these albums when we do these shows, especially ones that I know really well, and I step away and I go, Christine 16's not that great. Honestly, Plaster Caster, also not that great. And then She Kissed Me, unnecessary cover. Pretty much everything else, though, I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, man. So, Got Love for Sale is one of my favorite Kiss songs. Shock Me, obviously, fucking great. I love Hooligan. It's a fun ass fucking song. But yeah, so this is like, this is the first full Kiss album I ever owned. I bought it from like a used record store when I was young. It was the first, aside from Double Platinum, this was the first album I owned. And so it's very special to me. I love the album cover. I love the song so much. I love the way that it sounds. I actually think it sounds better than Rock and Roll Over, but that's just personal preference, I guess. But yeah, Love Gun's great, but I really started to pay attention to full album, a full Kiss album, the full package of songs that they delivered, and how do I feel about it? And Love Gun, as much as I love it, it goes at number 5. So moving on to number 4.
Cool. So my number 4 used to be Ace Frehley.
Mm-hmm.
It is now Creatures of the Night.
That's also my number 4.
Hey,
my number 4.
Up.
My number 4 used to be the self-titled debut album, Kiss, and now it is Creatures of the Night, which has come up 2 spaces because it's a fucking banger.
It is, and whatever Michael James Jackson landed on with the drum sound on Creatures of the Night, he should have repeated it on Lick It Up, because hot damn.
Did he produce Lick It Up too?
He did. Guy? Yep. Michael James Jackson, he did Creatures of the Night and Lick It Up. See, sonically, they're very similar things. Let's have a quick look here, because I know that Eric Carr is on the album cover for this. But funnily enough, there are 2 guitarists on this album that, actually, there are 2 different guitarists on this album who are not the guitarist on this album.
So it's not Ace.
So when it was Ace, it was actually Vinnie Vincent.
Yeah.
And there was a 1985 reissue featuring a completely different album cover, with Bruce Kulick on it,
which I'm not. I don't like that album cover's never been good to me. For me, I like the original.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love the 80s vibe of it, but it's very clear to me that that's Crazy Nights era. That's not, or at least either
Mid-80s.
way, yeah, mid 80s. Simply put, Vinnie Vincent, you can hear the Vinnie Vincent guitar playing. The production on this album, I'm going to come around and say it, this is next to Revenge the best sounding Kiss album. This sounds fan-fucking-tastic.
Yeah.
There are so many great things I could say about this album.
Yep.
And I'm just gonna list the track list.
Yeah, really, all you got to do is list the songs.
Yeah. On top of the fact that it sounds fantastic, here are the songs: "Creatures of the Night," "Saint and Sinner," "Keep Me Coming." "Keep Me Coming" and "Saint and Sinner" are probably the weakest tracks, but they're still really good.
Yes.
Like when you get to "Rock and Roll Hell," which has a Bryan Adams co-write, "Danger," "I Love It Loud," "I Still Love You," "Killer," and "War Machine."
Yeah.
This is
We just move on to number 3.
Is this like the most unfuckwithable Kiss album? Like, if someone handed any Kiss hater this album, do they have any leg to stand on?
This is one of those albums to me that somebody puts this at number 1 and I can't even argue with it. I'm like, yep, no, can't argue at all.
Yeah, this is killer. And even if Peter Criss isn't on it, and even if Ace Frehley doesn't even play on it, who gives a fuck, dude? This is killer. Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the weirdest, most underrated success stories in all of fucking rock. This album rules.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
That's why it's also my number 4. I don't have anything else to add. I just fucking, I love how it sounds. I love the songs. It's fucking great.
Nice.
But the 3 that I'm going into are I think are stronger, funnily enough. So let's go to your number 3 now.
Okay, my number 3 used to be Crazy Nights. It is now the self-titled Kiss debut.
Okay.
I mean, they hit the ground running strong with a strong selection of songs, man. Like Strutter, Nothing to Lose, Firehouse, Cold Gin, Let Me Know. Granted, you got Kiss in Time, which was added after the fact. Deuce.
It's a fun one, but yeah.
It's a fun song, and it's kind of tongue-in-cheek considering they're called Kiss.
Yeah.
Deuce, Love Theme from Kiss, 100,000 Years, Black Diamond. Clocking in at a crisp 35 minutes and 7 seconds. This is a 70s rock classic. And I would say it is the best sounding Kiss album up till Destroyer. I would say this, funnily enough, this debut actually kind of overshadows its 2 follow-ups. They fumble the production on Hotter Than Hell and kind of rush out
Dress to Kill.
But then they do it again on Destroyer. They just hit it out of the park. So yeah, it's to have an album this strong as your first album, you got some good shit going on.
Yeah.
I don't think you've talked about it yet either.
I have not.
Yeah. And it's just, it is one of those things I feel weird about, having a debut so high on a discography this extensive. But I mean, the phrase "you have your whole life to write your debut album" is true. Like,
yeah, I mean, considering they had like Wicked Lester stuff, ready to go. Well, I guess they had some of that stuff on Dress to Kill too. But yeah.
So it is awesome.
Yeah, my number 3 used to be Destroyer, but now, funnily enough, an album that dropped 1 spot, and it's an album that I love every second of it. But I decided it needed to go at number 3. My number 3 is Ace Frehley solo album.
Okay, cool.
And this is another one that if this is somebody's number 1, even though it's just an Ace Frehley album and not really a proper Kiss album, I would still not be able to argue it, because every song on this album is fucking great.
Yeah.
And it's the shit that he would write and the way that he played and the way that he sang. Nobody sounds like Ace Frehley. Mm-hmm. He was not a virtuoso. When it came to songwriting and singing and guitar playing, there are tons that are better than him. But his character came through in everything that he did, well, and does even today. Still, as an old dude, still doing music, he still does stuff that I hear it and I go, I love that he's still the same Ace. His personality is still there. You know, he's always been himself. And the Ace Frehley album, the songwriting, some of it, I'm just like, I feel like if you're not somebody like Ace Frehley, you can't write songs like these. The places that some of these songs go, I'm just like, yeah, you got to be kind of an oddball individual to write some of these songs. Not to mention that fucking New York Groove is I just love that song. And it doesn't. Some could say it doesn't necessarily fit on this album, but to me, it's kind of like a welcome little detour for a second, and I love it. I can't. This is an album that I put on, and I'm never not in the mood to hear the Ace Frehley solo album. Every song is amazing. I love the way it sounds. I love the drummer. Is it Anton Fig that's the drummer on this? I think, and he's fucking so good. Speaking of drummers that have a personality in what they do and their style comes across, I just love it. So I can say I love it a million times, but it didn't go back to number 2 or number 1 for me, for reasons that I will explain as I get to them. But my number 3 is Ace Frehley. Number 2, we're almost there, folks. We're almost there.
Cool. So, my number 2 used to be Kiss. It is now Rock and Roll Over.
Wow. Dang. All right.
So this album, I had crazy low.
And this time I have it crazy low.
Crazier low, actually. Way crazier low. My number 12 used to be Rock and Roll Over. It's moved a whole 10 spaces.
Yeah.
And I think that just comes from me having discovered 80s Kiss before 70s Kiss. 70s Kiss took a minute to click. And then when it did, and the drier sound, they went for on this, immediately following up. Is there a part of me that wishes it sounded a bit more like Destroyer? A little bit?
Yeah.
Like, do I think Rock and Roll Over and Love Gun would have benefited from a larger Bob Ezrin sound? Yeah, a little bit. But on the flip side, when it comes to the songs, I Want You, Take Me, Calling Dr. Love, like even Ladies Room, Baby Driver, Love 'Em and Leave 'Em, Mr. Speed, See You in Your Dreams, Hard Luck Woman, and Making Love. Again, I know I'm starting to sound like a bit of a Paul Stanley fanboy, but when Paul Stanley is just firing on all cylinders, there's just something there, man. That guy's got the magic touch.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So pretty much Rock and Roll Over, it was a huge grower for me. It grew a whole 10 spaces. And is it my favorite Kiss album cover? It's one of them. I love the look of it.
It's a good one, yeah. Iconic.
Yeah. Certainly the one I want a patch of on a jacket.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, with that, over to you for
Sweet.
your number 2.
My number 2 last time was Ace Frehley, and now up 2 spots. My number 2 is the self-titled Kiss debut album, which I think is one of the best debut albums ever. And it's sometimes I think the problem with this album for me is I kind of take it for granted, because it's like I almost don't even give it the time anymore, because I'm like, yeah, the first Kiss album, it's amazing. We all know. Yeah. And then I'll go and listen to it, and it's just song after song. I'm just like, this was the first fucking album. And like the weakest song is, to me, the one they just added on later. I mean, I guess the love theme from Kiss it's fine, but like, Kiss in Time, even as a song that was thrown on later, I still have a good time listening to that one. But everything else, there's just so many different flavors of like where they would go, because obviously you got some more kind of fun rockers on this album, but then you go all through like Black Diamond, just like they're already just amazing at just like setting different tones with the kind of rock music that they're doing, and it's still being like just a rockin' good time.
Yeah.
But the one thing that I always kind of forget is the Kiss haters out there all seem to forget that they had fucking riffs. And right out of the gate on this album, there's fucking riffs. And some of them like seem pretty heavy for 1974.
Yeah, I agree. Strutter alone, you know, down out, down, down out,
Yeah. And then there's little parts that I've always really loved. How on Firehouse they put in the stops there. The way there's those little stops in there. That's the kind of thing in songs that I go, yeah, if they were just a basic ass rock band, they never would have done that. It would have just been ding, 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 or whatever. You know, they would have just kept the groove going. But they added those stops, and it's so fucking great. Anyway, this album is one that deserves to be like put up there with like the best rock albums ever. But I don't think it's the best album they did, because being the kind of odd, you know, outlier that I am, I love it when a band can balance doing some cool rock tunes with some ones that I go, what the fuck is this? I don't care. I love it. And that's why I think we have a joint number one.
We do have a joint number one because, neither of us have talked about.
So what was your number one previously?
Destroyer.
Oh, it is? Oh, my number one previously was Love Gun, but now it's Destroyer, because there's something about, because like you have there's easy things in this album, like Detroit Rock City followed by King of the Nighttime World, boom boom boom, that's fucking amazing. But the album, if the album was that for 10 tracks, it wouldn't quite tickle all of the things that I want. And the fact that you get songs like Great Expectations where I go, what the fuck is this? But then I also go, I love this. It's just, so I love the fact that this is the big Kiss album where they went, look, we got some big rock tunes, but let's just fucking blow everything out and make the biggest album we can make. And I love that. I love when bands do that. I'm sorry, I'm jumping. You're usually going first, so go ahead.
No, go right ahead. Whenever we match up, I just let it roll. You know, whatever.
Yeah, I have a greater. I already you know understood that this album was iconic and people loved it. But the more that I listen to it, the more that it does have all these different elements that I love about Kiss. Whereas some other Kiss albums are a little more straightforward and kind of one note, where the fact that this one is like an experience while still having some fucking bangers on it is why I love it so much.
Yeah, it's I mean, dude, even I've come around to Great Expectations. I used to think Great Expectations was a cringe fest, but
oh no, I love it.
But I've come around to it. It's the campiest moment on the album.
Yeah, for real.
Like, you know, you get the 1-2 punch of Detroit Rock City and King of the Nighttime World, and then you get God of fucking Thunder.
God of Thunder, yeah.
Great song, heavy as shit for the time as well.
Yeah.
But like, you immediately follow it up with Great Expectations. Interesting anecdote. I don't know if you knew this. Paul Stanley wrote God of Thunder. Gene just sings it.
Oh, I don't think that I knew that. I always just assumed that the voice goes with the main songwriter, but interesting. Except for obviously like some Ace Frehley stuff, yeah.
Yeah. It's
I guess the Peter Criss stuff too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's killer. Great stuff. I mean, everything is blown to the biggest possible degree as it can be. I mean, you've got Bob Ezrin producing. He's done, at this point, a bunch of Alice Cooper albums, which, you know, the whole theatrical side of things are a huge part of that. It's...
I just love... I love it when bands don't shy away from blowing up and being big. So it's almost like they went into the studio saying, okay, we've blown up big time now. Let's fucking act like it. Let's make an album
Yeah.
like it. And I love that. Because sometimes bands, kind of fighting against being popular is good for the kind of band that they are. But for the band that Kiss was, 100% they're the first band that needs to embrace it and go bigger. And that's what they did. So,
You know something as well that makes me wish they'd done this more? Shout it out loud. You know what I'm going to say?
what?
I wish Paul and Gene had shared lead vocal
Yes.
on more songs.
I agree. I absolutely agree. I love that. I love that about that song.
I love it too. I love it loud.
I love it loud. Damn.
But yeah.
But do you love me?
Oh, absolutely.
I know you really like my limousine and the way the wheels roll and my 7-inch leather heels and going to all the shows, but
Do you know what I love as well? That whenever he does like the raps on stage, like the Paul Stanley stage banter.
yeah.
I got a call from my doctor. He said, "Paul Stanley, yes." Like whenever he do that, I said, "Yeah." Those sorts of like screaming Paul Stanley at all hours of the day.
I know that there are Paul Stanley banter collections on YouTube and whatnot, but it would make me very happy if somebody at some record label somewhere would professionally go and find all of the best ones and put out a fucking compilation, put it on vinyl. I'll buy it.
Yeah.
Make it a picture disc of Paul's face, and that's
Doing something like this.
yeah.
Like yeah.
whatever Paul pulling some kind of face. But I would absolutely love that, and I would just enjoy because I love that's the thing. I love his stage banter, but just leave out all the those parts, leave that shit out. Because he went overboard with that by the time you got to the late 80s.
I love the one that leads into Love Gun. I think it's on the deluxe Creatures of the Night, and it's like, I was going through security, and this beautiful security guard walks over to me and says, "I'm gonna have to frisk you." I said, "Baby, just go for it." And she starts rubbing my chest. She works her way up my leg. And before I knew it, she was holding on to my... Oh, God. She was holding on to my... Oh, God. She was holding on to my cock. Soundbite me.
Whoever was at that show, they went home happy. That's like the.
You're gonna hit me with a soundbite, dude. I'm getting a refill.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Every once in a while, we like to get a little wasted. We like to take a taste of alcohol.
But not only that, we have reached the end of this re-ranking. So
Fuck yeah. This was a big one, dude. Holy shit.
I got a man-sized predicament, and it's a big one. It goes like this. Yeah.
She ain't old enough to vote. FBI, open up!
Yeah. All right, Gene. Anyway, did we talk enough about Destroyer? Are we good? Like a joint number one, Destroyer? I feel like that's a little bit of a very pedestrian number one, but also no. I'm very secure with the number one being Destroyer.
It was going to be one of these three. It was going to be Destroyer, Creatures, or Revenge.
Oh, all three different eras right there. Boom, boom, boom.
I would assume that if anybody is going to put any Kiss number one, it's going to be one of those three.
That's pretty amazing as a band if you've got three albums from very different periods in your career that people hold that highly in regard.
Yeah, man.
So kudos to Kiss,
Oh, hold on. All right, there we go. That's more like it. You can't see my arms. You can't tell if
Maybe
it's
they're
me.
not even real hands. Maybe they're just like the wax dummy hands or whatever.
Yeah,
and they just let
just
them on.
out of shot. He's got them by like the forearm. He's just wiggling his rubber hands.
Anyway, this might very well be the longest episode we've ever done. I don't know for sure.
I think we start. I think this is approaching 4 hours.
Yeah, we're probably gonna. I think probably from when we started, this may end up being at least above 3.5. So if you're still here, you are ultimate, the absolute ultimate. You are the destroyer of peanut butter platypuses, aluminium squirrels, Belvedere ball sitters, and Christmas dogs.
Yes,
And we appreciate you. We are going to do another Cranked and Revisited somewhere down the line. We're going to do Judas Priest,
yes,
which will be kind of the opposite because it'll be me this time that has really kind of gotten into that band, and I'll have probably a very different but yet hot take filled ranking of their stuff as well.
Nice.
But
hot take ranking that I may agree with significantly.
yep, it's hot takes and hot rocking. There's gonna be a hot rocking going on in there because I want to go hot rocking, really, you know. But anyway, thanks for joining us for this revisiting of Kiss. And for those of you that are still here, if there are bands that we did in the past that you think would be interesting for us to revisit, put that in the comments. Because there's a lot that we've done that I'm like, I think we've said all we need to say. But then there are other artists that I think that we can do something else with and have another good conversation about. Kiss being one of them. So
Fuck yeah.
So what is next week? What's next week's show?
Let's have a look.
Time for show meeting. You guys are now in the special area.
Okay. So the next one is Kiss live albums.
Are we doing that next week?
I've got it as next week, but I can move it back a little bit if you want.
I think after almost 4 hours of Kiss, people maybe need a little break. Maybe we push the Kiss live albums. Move on down the line, and the ladies are looking fine.
I'll put it after L7.
Oh, spoiler alert! We're doing L7 at some point.
Yeah, L7 is on the list.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what does that leave us with for next week then?
So next week it looks like DRI.
Are we down? Are you down for DRI? Are you down? Are you down with OPP?
Right after that, by the way, we have Slashed and Mashed Ramming Speed, which is Turbo and Ram It Down mashed into one giant 80s Priest perfectionist ball of goodness.
I don't even know what I was doing. I'm very excited about that one. But yeah, DRI will be fun. Are you down for that? Remember, like I said, I'm kind of letting you steer things a little bit. So if DRI is looking good to you, then let's fucking roll on.
Sounds good to me, man.
Cool, because I think that's 6 albums, I believe. DRI.
Cool.
6 or 7, something like that. Definitely not 24. But so thank you for being here. Let's wrap this shit up because it's almost dinner time for me over here, and it's almost fucking bedtime over there.
It's coming up for 11 p.m. over here.
Damn. So. All right. Well, let's get the fuck out of here. Thank you very much for watching and for listening. We love you guys. And as usual, I'm going to throw it over to Eddie Sparxx. He's going to get a drink of beer. And now I'm going to throw it over to Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
We did it all night and later do it every day.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go on. I don't mean to be rude. You can do better than that, sir.
Okay. All right.
So now let's just forget that ever happened. Now let's go. Here we go. Ready? I'm going to give you a second to get your shit together. You let me know when you're ready.
I've got it.
Okay. And now I'm going to throw it over to Mr. Eddie Sparxx to take us out.
I was made for later, dude, baby. You were made for later, me. And I can't get enough of dude, baby. Can you later do to me tonight? I want to see it in your
Like you froze for a second. I'm like, that's where I should stop it. Where you're like, Janai. All right, everybody. Thanks for being here. We'll see you soon. Bye.
Fuck yeah.